6th Mayor and Council's workshop meeting. Let the time reflect it, or let it reflect it's approximately 6:40. Ms. Woolman, would you please read the opening statement and call the roll?
Let the minutes reflect that adequate notice of the holding of this workshop meeting of Howell Township Council was provided for in the following manner. By the posting of a copy of said notice upon the bulletin board in the Township Municipal Building on January 1, 2007. By the faxing of a copy of said notice to the Asbury Park Press, Tri-Town News, and Star Ledger for publication on January 1, 2007. By the filing of a copy of said form of notice in the Township Clerk's office on January 1, 2007. The public will be allowed to attend and will be allowed to participate pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Law. The public is reminded that civility and decorum will be maintained during the meeting. Any contracts awarded at this meeting or between now and the next meeting will be required to comply with the requirements of Public Law 1975, Chapter 127. In accordance with the Fire Prevention Code, be advised that this facility is designed with 3 emergency exits for your safety. The locations are as follows. Upon exiting the meeting room, to the rear there to your immediate left and immediate right, and at the front of the meeting room to the left of the dais. Furthermore, smoking is not permitted in the municipal building. Please take note that this meeting is being videotaped for possible future broadcast on Howell Township TV 77. Roll call, Mrs. Dalton. Here. Mr. Howell.
Here.
Mrs. Showmaker.
I believe, Mr. Chinesky, you said that she'll be here.
Approximately 7 o'clock, Mayor.
Okay.
Mr. Walsh.
Here.
Mayor DeBella.
Here. Okay, Mr. Chinesky, I believe we have a reason to go into closed session. Is that right, sir?
Yes, sir.
And the reasons are?
Contracts, litigation, and personnel.
Okay. Ms. Woolman, would you please read the appropriate statement for executive session?
Yes, sir. Whereas Title 10, Chapter 4, Section 13 of the New Jersey Revised Statutes require that the public shall not be excluded from any meeting of a public body unless a resolution authorizing such exclusion is adopted at a public meeting. Whereas the Township Council of the Township of Howell has determined that such a closed meeting is required to discuss certain matters which are exempted from consideration with the public in attendance under New Jersey Revised Statutes 10:4-12. Now therefore be it resolved by the Township Council of the Township of Howell that the public shall be excluded from the next portion of this meeting, and that the Township Council will reconvene in public session thereafter. Be it further resolved that minutes will be kept of the meeting in closed session, and the time and the circumstances under which the discussion conducted in closed session can be disclosed to the public cannot be determined at this time.
Okay, we need a roll call. I'm sorry, a motion and a second, please.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any remarks? Hearing none, roll call, please, for executive.
Mrs. Dalton?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mayor DeBella?
Yes. Okay, we're going to go into closed session. We'll convene in approximately 7:30, Mr. Chinesky. Is that about right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'm going to reconvene this meeting to order. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is the March 6th Mayor and Council's workshop meeting agenda. We just convened out of closed session. We've already done the appropriate opening statements. I'd ask that everyone please rise for a Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And I would ask that we just please remain standing for a moment, silent observation and thought of the troops that continue to defend this great country all over the world. Thank you. All right, reports of township officials. Mr. Czerniecki, what do you have for us, sir?
Okay, Mayor, one of our long-standing objectives since I've started here, so it's not that long actually.
Find a way to make the meeting shorter.
Correct.
You've done it.
Well, you have before you a draft policy on council protocols. This was initially requested by Councilwoman Showmaker, and over the course of the past few months with the new council members, we've added things to that. What I'd like to do is go over the draft with you. It's not that extensive. It's in the same format that our neighborhood traffic policy is in, so we have all these things in one area on our website, and we can forward these to residents who have inquiries about, how we get on the agenda, how we get a, item for discussion, so on and so forth, and what's expected at council meetings. The first part of the policy simply references Chapter 2 of the Administrative Code of the town, and that's attached to the policy, so it's there for easy reference in terms of how meetings are organized and conducted and the role of the mayor. The times we start and the times we should be ending. The second point acknowledges that Robert's Rules of Order is written into our municipal code. But what this policy does is recognize that Robert's Rules of Order are generally designed for large legislative bodies, so there's certain things that are unique to us that we want to capture in this policy. The first item, public comments during the public participation portion and hearings on ordinances. What is recommended is that the code calls for 3 minutes per speaker, but we are recommending 4 minutes per speaker with 1 minute to summarize. That's what council directed us to indicate. So once a speaker hits 4 minutes, the clerk will advise that that time is up, and we'll need to summarize. And if there's a desire to extend that speaker's time, it's recommended that that be provided in the form of a motion from the governing body to allow that to happen. The policy also makes clear what the expectations are in terms of council member participation, so that council does not take up the individual's time. So that really interaction should be in the form of questions to clarify what the speaker is asking through the mayor. During public comment portions, there really should not be new policy items added to the agenda that weren't anticipated, unless, of course, it's a matter of public health. But according to Robert's rules, if an item is going to be debated, it should be opened for debate first. And again, this should be saved for the end so it doesn't take up the time of the speaker or those wishing to speak. On the next page, if we look at number 4, it is noted that in our code, council meetings are supposed to end by 11 o'clock. It's recommended that when we get into an hour in terms of public comment, or in an hour in terms of a hearing on an ordinance, that we will advise the council that an hour has elapsed and that a motion would be needed to do something, either in terms of the public comment portion to extend it by, let's say, 15-minute intervals, or in the case of an ordinance, if we're doing a public hearing, it gives council an opportunity to look at the rest of the agenda and decide perhaps this ordinance is best tabled so we can move on to other items. So again, after an hour, a decision would need to be made, one way or another. It explains the process for making presentations before the council, that they ought to be requested first and approved by the whole council so they could be properly agendized. And another request is that during our voting sessions on consent agenda items, that we open it up to the public, not on each consent agenda item, but just a brief opportunity for the public to question what the consent agenda items are. And also, prior to introduction of ordinances, that the staff be given an opportunity to kind of summarize what the ordinances are that are being introduced. So that sort of represents the input we've received from the various council members and items we've noted in our code book and in practices in other communities.
All right, does the council have any comments or discussions on this? Do you want to take some time to look at it and then we can formally accept it? Are you inclined to accept this evening as a starting point? I'll open this up to discussion. Ms. Dalton, do you want to?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I understand there was one minor change from the first draft we had circulated, which was suggested by Councilwoman Shoemaker, and I've read it, and I'm satisfied with it, and I'm inclined to move that we adopt it as our policy, and subject to modification as it turns out during the course of our meetings.
Okay, are there any differing views from what Mrs. Dalton has articulated? Anyone feel differently? All right, do we need, from a parliamentary procedure, we're just looking for a motion and a second to adopt this as policy?
Correct, to endorse
Okay.
the policy.
Ms. Dalton, would you kindly introduce?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to move that we adopt the recommendations provided by the Township Manager entitled Township Council Meeting Protocol Policy.
We have a motion, we need a second.
I will second it, Mayor.
Okay, are there any final comments? Okay, hearing none, roll call, please.
Mrs. Dalton?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mrs. Showmaker?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mayor DeBella?
Yes. Okay, terrific. What else, Mr. Chinesky?
Mayor, one item that I wanted to call to council's attention and ask for some guidance is you may recall that there was an issue concerning the purchasing of ambulances, that there was some confusion with respect to last year's budget in terms of which squad was going to receive an ambulance, and the various groups were asked to get together to come up with a proposal. And in thinking about the issue, it was demonstrated that the Farmingdale Howell Rescue Squad was in need of ambulance, but clearly Howell also demonstrated a need, and they were scheduled to receive their ambulance as part of this year's capital budget program. In looking at some of the outstanding capital ordinances, we believe that we can accommodate that ambulance now instead of waiting for the adoption of the capital budget. It's just that it won't be included in that portion of the budget this year. And it's been a practice that we always include an ambulance and take turns with the squads. If council is so inclined, we will proceed with development of an ordinance to allow that to happen.
So to understand this correctly, you're suggesting that we could accommodate both squads simultaneously, so we can actually get an ambulance for Farmingdale Howell and Kent Road at the same time?
Right. Essentially, the Farmingdale Howell would continue with the 2006 ordinance, but that instead of including a new ambulance in the forthcoming budget, it won't show up. We'll just do it.
We can do it now, it's not to delay.
Handle it separately now. Correct.
All right, questions from the council?
Mayor, if I could.
Please.
Now, Howell First Aid is slated to receive a new ambulance in the proposed, in what's already been proposed as part of the 2007 budget.
Correct.
We have money available to take care of them now, but that doesn't mean that then the township EMS system, or nope, we're not going to slide somebody else in now to get a new ambulance. This year, we're going to have a year where there's a void.
That's correct. We're simply accelerating the process.
Okay.
Okay. Any other, Mrs. Dalton, please?
And the money that we're going to take that out of capital allocations that have been unused, is that correct?
That's my understanding, yes.
Okay, and at some point, we're going to get a handle on all the other capital lines that are still out there?
Again, the plan is when we finally adopt the capital, there'll be everything, A to Z, in terms of what we've adopted, what the balances are. You will get that for your consideration, but we would utilize that at this point, portion of that, to fund this ambulance.
Okay. Any concerns? Anything else? So you need us to take, well, actually, I guess the only action is you want direction to prepare an ordinance. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
All right. Is there any concern or disagreement in acting in this capacity? All right. I think you have your direction, Mr. Chinesky.
Thank you.
What else do you have for us?
We had a discussion last time, Mayor, about the ongoing implementation of the master plan ordinances. I was asked to prepare an ad and distribute it in various venues, and I just wanted to let you know that happened. A copy of that ad was placed in your packet. That will appear in 3 different publications.
Okay.
And that's it for me.
Any other professional reports, Mr. Chinesky, for anyone else? Okay. All right, Ms. Dalton, you want to go first?
I'm going to speak as topics come up on the agenda. The only thing I did want to remind the public of is that on Saturday, March the 10th, there is a rabies clinic from 9 to noon at the Public Works Department, and dog licenses will be available. So if you haven't taken care of that business, the rabies shots are free, and the licenses are very cheap.
What's the time? Now's the time.
I think 9 to noon.
Okay, Mr. Howell?
Mayor, just real quick, on Friday, I had the opportunity to go to Gribbling School to, as part of the Read Across America program that you've taken part in yourself. And I just want to thank the people at Gribbling for inviting me and letting me hang out with all those pretty cool first graders. And I think I know Sam I Am and Green Eggs and Ham by heart now. There is one other thing. Tomorrow, there's a fundraiser for the young lady who attends Howell High School who lost both her parents in that horrible tragedy a couple of weeks ago. At Pizza Hut, it's from 1 in the afternoon till 5, where proceeds of all the sales will go into a fund for that young lady. And then there will also be, and it has been listed on the Township's website, and there will also be another fundraiser on, I believe, March 19th at Applebee's to try to help that young lady cope with some bills that she's at. So, that's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Showmaker, anything under reports?
Yes. If I can address Mr. Chernitsky. Mr. Chernitsky, I would like to, just before I forget, make sure that you keep me in the loop on the towing ordinance, where we are and how we're going through that. I've put my notes from the meeting that Ms. Dalton and I attended. I just want to make sure that before it's brought up on the agenda that we have everything that needs to be in there. That's number one.
Yes.
Number two, and we all received a letter from the Howell Library in regards to them needing a baby changing table in the amount of, I don't think it exceeds maybe $200. My question was, to me, this is almost like a petty cash thing. Do we not take care of housing things for the library? And if so, why did this come to us and why not to the cash box?
I do wish it had come to me directly, but it came to me and the council at the same time. And
Okay.
we did direct Buildings and Grounds to address it, but I understand someone else came forward to address it, that a contribution was made
Okay.
for that purpose.
Okay. That's what, that was my sentiments. Okay. And the only other comment that I want to say is that on this project proposal for the Environmental Resource Inventory and Open Space and Recreation Plan, I believe that I have, if you don't have it, an old master recreational plan from many years ago that was never adopted. I don't know if the township still has a copy of it. I have my copy of it, and I also have an inventory, I believe, of a lot of the open space also. I have 2 huge binders with the maps and everything. I'll get them out for you if you
Please.
don't, if the township doesn't have copies of those, because I do have, they're both things that were never adopted, but it was done many, many years ago.
If they weren't adopted, I'm sure they have a lot of background information that would be useful.
Yes, it was a lot, I think a lot went into it, and I'm sure it's outdated, but it would give you, I think, a tremendous amount of insight into this. And in light of the time, I'll forgo any other comments, Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Showmaker. Mr. Walsh, any comments?
Yeah, I have a few things. Mr. Janetzky, I know the mayor had asked you to get in contact, if you could, with Sergeant Craig Brenner, who done that 50-mile walk from the Marine Corps.
Yes.
Anything back on that?
We've reached out to the individual, and Penny is working on that.
I just wanted to follow up on that as I was doing some work in the office over the weekend. A few other things in town going on that I've had the privilege of watching a lot of Howell wrestling this winter, and over the weekend 2 of our young men made it to the States down in Atlantic City. Cody Phobes came in second in New Jersey, and Joey Langle made it into he placed in the States. Coach Gagliano did a great job. The team was ranked 10th in New Jersey. And it was just a joy watching them. Like seeing our youth doing positive things. And just thought I'd bring that up. And right about now, I hope our Howell High School girls basketball team is winning its state championship basketball game. They're playing today up in Sayreville. That's up to them. We received a couple of emails that I'd like to bring up. Mrs. Chavez sent us an email, Mr. Chinetsky, about the road over here by Pop Warner with the spring coming. Any updates there?
Deputy Mayor, we met with the engineer. We reviewed the concept plan. We're finalizing it. We got a good sense of exactly where the wetlands are, which permits might be needed to help us phase how we're going to do those improvements. I hope to be ready to go out to bid within a month to be going out to bid on a project.
Would you please get in contact with her if you haven't to let her know that?
Yes.
Thank you very much. And I would like to, just a couple things so I can try to get on protocol and how you'd like us to do things down pat here. I would like to meet with some people from the Environmental Commission, them speak before us about some information they've given us, requesting us to fund a study for them. Could we get a couple of people from the Environmental Commission here for a meeting?
We'd have to ask the mayor and put that in the form of a motion.
I happen to agree with Mr. Walsh. We all got their most recent correspondence. What we've done before, the chairman of the zoning board, for example, is here, and he's presented before, is see if we can get them at one of those middle meetings that we had set up for those kind of presentations, have them come in and give them an opportunity, and I think Mr. Pritchard is here as well, the chairman, and see if they can present to us and outline. I think it's a terrific idea.
Yeah.
So can you work on a schedule to get the environmental, through the chairman, of course, and to decide who we can get on board?
Sure.
Okay.
Do we make a motion?
Second.
I make a motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any additional comments?
No, Mayor.
Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mrs. Dalton?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mrs. Showmaker?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mayor DeBella?
Yes.
And just one last thing. If I would like to sit down and speak about some information given to us in our packets with the CFO, would I ask you here, or would I do it in writing to you, Mr. Chinetsky?
You can do it either way. Preferably, if it's like to have the relationship where you let me know you'd like to meet, and I'd advise the other council members that a meeting's taken place. That's okay with me, if it's okay with the rest of the governing body.
I'm just trying to match your new protocol you've given me, you know? Trying to do the right thing here. So, all right, I'll contact you, but I'd like to sit with Mr. Filiaccio if possible. There's some questions I'd like to ask him about stuff that's been given to us.
Okay.
That's all, Mayor. Thank
All
you.
right, terrific. Thank you, Mr. Walsh. A couple things. There was an article in the paper about a young lady from Howell Township named Ashley Geiselman. I may be pronouncing it wrong. I should get it right because it looks like she's on to real terrific things. She was named the Queen of the St. Patrick's Day Parade. She hails from Howell High School, and she won the 34th annual beauty pageant that is held at Doolin's Restaurant in Spring Lake, and she will lead the St. Patrick's Day Parade that apparently is in Belmar Lake Como. So that's a real nice award for this young lady and her family to be recognized. The other issue, we got a letter. In fact, I just got it. I haven't even had an opportunity to circulate it to the council. It was in my mail tonight when I got to town hall. It's a letter from the governor's office regarding the anticipated construction that's going to begin at the Route 33 and 34 Wall Township Circle, which is slated to actually have begun
It
yesterday.
already did, yeah. It's
Now,
actually
there's
a
been
couple-
some signs and a lot of notices that have happened, but what they've done in this letter is they've given an anticipated overview of each phase of the project, when it's anticipated to be at what level, what kind of interruptions, how traffic's going to be rerouted, and it looks as if they're suggesting that the final stage will be sometime in September, and they would hope that it would be resolved, or at least the construction would be finished by September the 5th, and this is the ongoing effort of the state to eliminate these roundabouts and have them be corrected with straightaways. So, Mr. Chunietski, I'm going to ask if you'd pass that down, Mr. Howell. Perhaps that's something we can get on the township website under these announcements that we have. We have a number of residents that travel in and around that area. They're obviously aware of it now, but at least they can get a sense of what the schedule looks like.
Yes.
Send that
Yeah,
to
and Mr. Howell raises a good point, handed me a note. If we could also share a copy of that with the Board of Education, please. I think the chief is on copy, and I believe you are as well, Mr. Chunietsky. The other thing is I got notice back from Senator Singer's office on something. I wrote to Senator Singer last November raising an objection to the way that COA handles their mediation process. Deputy Mayor Walsh and I participated in some COA settlements. Chairman Schneider from the Planning Board was there and others. And one of the things that really turned us off was that COA required us to agree not to speak publicly about anything that happened in those discussions. They also refused to allow public input in those hearings, which I think we all found pretty offensive. But unfortunately, that was the process. We had to agree to it at the front end. We weren't happy about it. So back in November last year, I wrote a personal letter to Senator Singer objecting to the process, and I asked him if he would sponsor a bill that would eliminate that as the process. And I'm pleased to report that I got a letter today from the senator that he has posted or has issued a bill for submission for the Senate's consideration. It's Bill S. 2566, and that bill would require a public hearing prior to any mediation being resolved. And so I really would like to garner some support from this council. I'm going to write to other communities and other mayors and ask them to get on board of this, or get on board with this, so that the public can actually participate in that process, and that the public have an opportunity to weigh in on it, and that they not be denied an opportunity to comment, raise objections, raise concerns. I'm thrilled that Senator Singer was kind enough to take the time to get this bill written, and I am going to do my darndest to lobby the Democratic majority to see to it that we can convince them to get this passed. There's no secret I'm not a big fan of COA. I've written to the community about it. I think it's a failed social experiment. What I find more offensive is that the public is shut out of that process in many respects on very controversial kind of issues. And it's done behind closed doors in a way that I don't really think does the public any good. So I'm hoping that the council will maybe even consider passing a resolution and sending it to the Senate President and the Senate Majority Caucus, asking them to get this bill posted, at least get it to committee so that it can go through the process.
Can I have the weekend to think about that, man?
Take as much time as you like. All right, that's all I have. Is there anything else under reports we're missing, Mr. Chancey?
Mayor, if I'm in agreement 100% with you on that. Now, just if I could ask the manager, would we need to put that in the form of a motion now to follow the mayor's direction?
Yes, actually, it'd be appreciated.
What I would suggest, Mr. Howell, and I appreciate your support on it, let me give all you guys the benefit of, maybe we can have the manager distribute a copy, and then we can publicly prepare to talk about it next week, because there may even be some things in here. I just got it tonight. I was so overjoyed. I mean, I'll read you the summation. It says, it requires COA to conduct a public hearing if mediation to resolve objections to municipalities' petition for substantive certification is unsuccessful. So, I mean, the spirit of it captures what we want, but I think we've got some good intellectual talent up here. Maybe we can all chew on it.
Okay.
So, Mr. Chancey, I'm going to pass this down, if you don't mind. If you could get copies to the council and Mr. Bongiovanni. And what I would like to then ask, maybe a member of the council, to agree to have it put on the agenda for our next meeting so that we can talk about it in some more detail.
Mayor, if I could, I'd make that motion.
Second?
Motion and a second. Any comments? All right, hearing none, roll call, please.
Mrs. Dalton?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mrs. Showmaker?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mayor DeBella?
Yes, thank you, council, I appreciate it. All right, if we go to our agenda, we've got a presentation. Tonight, we have council meeting protocols, which we've done. Next up is a presentation by the chairman of the Zoning Board of Adjustment, Mr. Vinoy. Looks like he's got company. Mr. Meyer, are you coming up too, Mr. Meyer? Yes. Terrific. All right, gentlemen, welcome. We appreciate your taking the time to come out. The council has historically received an annual report from the zoning board on different things that they've encountered over the years. In some applications, it's led to us making changes to ordinances based on things that have come across their desk. So, Mr. Chairman, I believe you know everyone here. We'll turn it over to you and Mr. Meyer.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor, Deputy Mayor, council members. I don't know, this is about maybe the fourth time in the last 4 years that we've been able to come before you folks and and just
Mr.
tell you...
Benoit, would you just pull the microphone a little bit
I
closer?
should know. I'm constantly telling other people from the zoning to do that. We really appreciate the opportunity. The board really works together very well and has for a number of years. And at the end of the year, we come up with this yearly report based on our experiences and findings that either we can modify our own bylaws to make things a little smoother, or we can do something that provides more equity to the residents as they make applications to us. Or we can make recommendations for zoning, schedule changes or ordinance changes. So that's basically what we're doing. I realize we have a lot of stuff here to review with you. Steve Meyer, Vice Chair. We, like I say, have an excellent board. They all do their homework. Everybody asks intelligent questions. And quite frequently, we get unanimity in our decision process, so we're proud of that too. Even though we might have a dichotomy of opinions as we're working through an issue, we come up with some good resolutions that are amenable both to the applicant and to objectors in some cases. So what I have in front of you is just a summary one-liners of what appeared in the annual report that was submitted to you. So instead of having to reread through that, there's about 11 topics. We've added a 12th topic and thought that maybe we could briefly go through each one so conceptually you see what we're going to try to achieve, and also ask you folks to work on in the next couple of months that maybe we can resolve some issues that are outstanding. So the first one, we notice that some of the descriptions in our ordinances are somewhat outdated, ranging from how we can permit gas stations and convenience stores as a combination to exist in an HD zone. It's not permitted right now. Yet clearly, this is a change in the environment, and we need to adapt to that change in environment in terms of how people are using gas stations. There's a variant to that. There's actually a rule against having a gas station within 2,000 feet of a school or a church. Well, those were good.
Any meeting place.
And a meeting place. Those were very good regulations 30 years ago, 40 years ago, when there was a greater danger and there wasn't as many safety security devices at gas stations. It's somewhat meaningless now, and so we frequently will see a variance request have to come in, and somebody has to make a whole application, and we want to try to avoid that, what we would call noise in providing applications. That's what that's about. Drive-through services, maybe would you care to, Steve, talk about that, or?
With the drive-through services, we're now getting applications in which are looking, a good example is VNS on Route 33. The ordinances do not allow drive-through restaurants in that zone. The testimony they're bringing in is that most of these applications now, any of the Dunkin' Donuts applications such as that, all have the drive-through facility. They like it to a bank. We allow a bank to have a drive-through in these areas, but we don't allow a restaurant to have them. And this, the council really has to decide themselves, being you are responsible for the ordinances. Do you want to continue having the ban on the drive-through, the fast food, or do you wish to bring this more in line with what we have on Route 9?
So,
Okay.
again, another item for consideration. We're not expecting, necessarily, any
Sure.
agreement or resolution.
I think it would be helpful, unless the council disagrees, is if you could walk through the whole of the report. We
Yes.
can then open it up to questions for the council, and then
Okay.
council will make some decisions if we want to get to any of this tonight.
All right, sounds good. We want to see some inconsistencies between the ordinance and our schedule for permitted uses in residential zones. Clubs and pools, in one case, it's permitted and explicitly stated, and in another case, it's explicitly excluded. So what happens is thank you. What happens is we get a an applicant in front of us, and they point to the inconsistencies. And it makes it very difficult for us to come up with an equitable decision, especially when we have to keep in mind that any decision that we make not only is law, it then, if it's appealed, goes to Superior Court. And that becomes an expensive item, and sometimes it's very difficult to, I guess, defend our position, even if we're found to not be capricious or arbitrary in our decision. And the reason is that it's difficult is that an applicant can show an inconsistency in the expression of our ordinance. So these, and there's several other cases like that. I'll come up with the next one. Doggy daycare is what we call it.
Over the parking.
I'll come back to it because this is the same topic. So I'm going to item 5, where we need to modify and codify our dog kennel type operations, because we're getting more and more applications that include all kinds of variations of dog care situations, such as a doggy daycare only, no boarding. Other cases where there's boarding. Other cases where there's only training. And then other cases where it's, well, we're taking care of lost animals, or what's the other word for it? I can't think of it right now. But there's all kinds of variations. And when an applicant comes to us, what they're starting to do is refer to the Geese Police decision that was made. It was one of 2 decisions where where Superior Court sent back to the zoning board to re-review a case that we did. And it had to do with our dogs, part of our agricultural environment, and therefore a permitted use on the farm to have dogs, such as in a Geese Police type situation. And if so, why not for other dog-related activities, such as a doggy daycare? Well, we just had our second case along those lines, and the Geese Police was cited as one such situation. The second citing in the case, where although the judge did not find us arbitrary or capricious in any way, and in fact, just for your information, the zoning board's decisions are considered valid and correct and have the preponderance of validity to the court still made their own recommendation that it be sent back to us for re-review for this particular dog care facility. And one of the reasons was, the reason I'm bringing this up, and it's very important to us because I think we'll encounter it several times more, is that in the state regulations, dogs are specifically included as an exclusion, if you will, for agricultural use, whereas our ordinance, curiously enough, does not do that. It doesn't have the word dogs in there. And so it's a problem. So to the kind efforts of CME, they spent some time at my request to produce a guideline for dog kennel uses. And we would like to submit this to you folks for review. We'll spend some more time on it and ask CME to spend a little more time on it. But we think it might address this issue and avoid having to go to court in the future on further applications. So it's a fairly big item as far as we're concerned.
If I can add to that before you go back.
Yeah.
2 things. One is in the recent decision against the boards. Geese Police, where it was cited by the applicant, the judge did not include the Geese Police case as part of their decision. But it's something that the applicants will continuously come in with and using this. This is where I came in front of the council about a month ago requesting that if you could look into getting the farmland use or the right to farm ordinance brought up to date with the states to include the exclusion of dogs. Because that's the first place they go, is that it's an agricultural use. It's an ARE zone. Why can't we have an agricultural use there?
So if we can get that change in, I think it'll be beneficial to everybody. Do you want to do minimum parking as well? Go back, item 4.
Makes no difference. You want to do or should I?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, with the minimum parking requirements, we get a number of applicants coming in who demonstrate that our parking requirements for their particular use are excessive. And what we have found in many cases is the applicant has a better idea of what their parking requirements are going to be. And it doesn't benefit an applicant to come in and have less parking than they need. If anything, they're going to want to have a little bit more than they're required.
So we just want to be more balanced, rather than having a rigorous standard that didn't include these more flexible uses that weren't common 10 years ago, but are common today. So that's what we're trying to get at there. Item 6, we require telecommunication facility applicants to provide structural analysis. To provide structural analysis as part of the initial application. We'd like to see them offer this as part of the application requirements, including fall zone requirements, and also what co-location attempts they have made on township facilities. Years ago, we got it into the planning master plan. We got it into the zoning requirements for telecommunication facilities that they should focus on as a priority co-location within Howell, especially Howell-owned properties. But many times they come in and they just cursorily say, yeah, we looked at it, but it didn't work. So we would like something a little more rigorous right up front that the engineering people can start looking at, and we have more information before they start to present to us. So,
Go a little further with that one.
okay.
Part of the problem we're going to have with the telecommunications is they're now putting applications in for residential areas. We have, I believe, 2. One of them is on West Farms, the other is on Casino, the other is over on Georgia Tavern Road. We've already done part of the application for Georgia Tavern. They, I feel, chose this as their first one in the ARE zones because it's a very hard one to turn down. We've got to have the ordinances that require them to look at township-owned, not just facilities or towers, but township-owned properties. Because there is a property owned by the township between these 2 sites, which may accommodate both of them. The PAL site, the old municipal garage on West Farms. We need the ordinances requiring them in a much stronger fashion that they have to look at the township sites first. They have to look at alternate sites before we start allowing them to come into residential areas. Because once the first one comes in spite of the fact we're always told that each case stands on its own, the first one sets a precedent.
And again, if it goes to Superior Court, the courts look at those precedents, even though they're not supposed to. Even though Cox rules say no, they do. It's as simple as that. And if you have a judge who is a little more activist, if you will, or whatever term you want to use, but feeling that they should, out of justice, change something, they'll do that. And it's hard to argue against it. So I think we ought to streamline as much as possible these kinds of regulations. Let me see. Expanding the community website. We think that there has been growth in the website. It really looks excellent. And what we would like to ask is that whoever is doing it, and I think I know who's spearheading it, those changes, that we include more information related to obtaining permits, why you get permits, the very purpose of it. We get so many applicants who say, oh, well, I didn't know, but, you look at them, and then they say, well, I kind of knew, but, and people shouldn't be afraid of getting permits. The whole permit process, as a matter of fact, we ought to put it clearly that it's to actually help people. It's a safety, welfare. It helps people in the competence of doing their own work, that they know an official from the township can verify electrical change, placement of pool, where it goes, what's safe, what isn't safe. We've had people come in with these pools that were 3 feet off the mark, or they didn't get a good survey, and the sob stories go on and on and on. And we need to make sure that people appreciate and understand the need to get permits. And many of the permits are not expensive in Howell. It's not like we're onerous or bureaucratic, especially with the homeowner. So I think it'd be nice to highlight this on the website to try to get people to have a more, warm and fuzzy feeling on it.
Another thing with that.
Okay?
Another thing you might include on the website, along with especially the pool and deck applications, is an explanation for the public that they know what a setback is and what an easement is. So that when they're looking to make an application for a pool permit and they see their survey, the survey is going to show an easement or going to show setback lines, that the homeowner is also able to see at that point if something is crossing it, or if once they have the pool in, they start putting the accessories in, that these things go across that line. Because that's where they're coming into us after the pool is in, after the improvements are done, and then requiring to get a variance, because they're now 3 foot over the line or into a setback or into an easement.
Item 8, relating to electronic signage, we wanted to give an example of the case was House of Norway before they sold and left Howell. A very fine facility. They didn't achieve their business objectives that they wanted, but one of the things they had done was invest in this $50,000 electronic flashing sign. We were concerned that certain regulations had to accompany that if we were to approve it, namely the frequency at which it would change messages so as to not be a distraction to automobile drivers and so forth. And we spent time on it before it got approved, and I think we came up with a balanced set of conditions in permitting them to have this signage. What we're noticing, and they agreed to it, but now I'm noticed that since there's a new owner, they're not following the requirements that were made with this signage. So that'll become an enforcement issue. But we're noticing now that there are other applicants who've noticed the electronic signage and will be coming to us asking for the same permission. So we think we need an ordinance now regulating this, because they're popping up all over. If you go up Route 18, for example, now, you'll see them all over the place. They're very popular, and marketing experts say they're effective. I don't know whether they are or not, but I think we're going to have to address it one way or the other. Temporary use permits, item 9, emphasize, here's a situation where we have the capability of giving temporary use permits.
What's the ordinance number on that one?
Yeah.
Okay, the ordinance number is 188-165, temporary use permits.
Okay. The concept of temporary use permits was to assist applicants when, in fact, for example, they might have had a fire and they have to put up a trailer in their business or adjacent to their home that's been partially damaged. And so we don't want them to have to go through a long bureaucratic process or move, but instead be able to have a temporary use permit to resolve this temporary situation. Well, we just got a case in where someone had been denied a use by the planning board, and for technicality, the case had been referred to us as the zoning board because the applicant was requesting a temporary use permit. And this was for something that in no way one could say had to do with an emergency situation or anything else. They simply wanted a 2-year use permit on something that had already been denied by the planning board. We, not wanting to usurp what we thought was rightfully a planning board decision, and one that they had made, didn't want to get in the middle of this, and in fact we wound up sending it back, but making our case very clear to the applicant, who subsequently pulled back and said, okay, we won't make a temporary use permit. They knew what they were doing, but we think we have to be careful in such a situation. Mm-hmm. And we need to tighten up the definition of temporary use permits, so that it adheres to what was originally intended.
I'd like to expand on that one.
Okay.
With the temporary use permits, we have applicants now who are not only just using it to try and get past another board's decision, but also it gives you the advantage of, with a temporary use permit, you get to try out your business for 2 years. And if it fails, you're not out anything. You've spent $200 to come in front of a board. The other problem with this is that it denies the adjacent property owners any knowledge or right to comment on this. And this, I think, is even a more important issue that we're having coming up now, is we have too many different ways applicants can circumvent having public participation in the hearings. Not only with the temporary use permits, but with interpretation of ordinances we have. As I brought to you, I guess, about a month ago, where if a builder comes in, uses a builder's remedy, it immediately becomes a court case. The council is then tied, that is now in executive session. The council can't comment on it. The adjacent property owners are completely ignorant of what is going on. And I really feel we have to come up with some type of ordinance that would protect the property owner, that if you bring an action against the town, or if you're coming in front of a board even for an interpretation or a temporary permit, you've got to notify the adjacent property owners, and especially with a lawsuit, that they have the right to be represented by an attorney.
We feel pretty strongly about this. We've gotten into trouble before, not through, I think, not through our own fault, but through not having adjacent homeowners noticed on these interpretations. So somebody comes in and for $200 they can have an interpretation. Again, the spirit of it was to keep the price, the fees low, so that a homeowner who had something that was a question of interpretation, really borderline, could reasonably, without a large bureaucratic process, come before a board like ours and get remedy. But now it's being used by some really professionally astute applicants who, for $200, want to avoid any conflict at all from any neighbors, or let them know what's going on. And we object to that. And so we feel very, very strongly that this has to change. So we're recommending that you keep the fees the same, but that notice to adjacent property owners is a requirement for any interpretation request. And one other thing we're doing, and we can do this by our bylaws, although we have put it into our bylaws a couple of years ago that we would limit interpretations to 15 minutes of evaluation and review, what we find is we'll get an attorney, an engineer, and a planner along with the applicant in. They can't possibly present in 15 minutes. And then they say, oh, please, please, we only need another 5 minutes, and it never is. It's always an hour. And
Police was 5 meetings.
Yes, that's actually true.
And that was an interpretation of ordinance. That was never a variance application.
That's correct. So we need to avoid that. So we want to be hard and fast on the 15-minute rule. And we also want to say the applicant can bring one representative, preferably his attorney if he wants an attorney, but no other professionals. If it can't be presented in 15 minutes so that we can interpret whether there's validity to their to what they're asserting, then we recommend that they come back and make their variance request in the normal process of requesting a variance. So that's kind of important to us too, and I think we can be more effective. And the last is, I didn't put it on there, but...
Well, you forgot about the curves.
Oh, I did. That's yours anyway. Do it.
Okay, Jack Mallon, the board engineer, requested that we get some clarification and changes into the ordinance for the cul-de-sacs. And if I can just find that here real quickly. It's on comes under the definitions. In the ordinances, it's 188-4, lot frontage. What it amounts to is on curved streets, you're allowed to reduce your frontage because the lots are pie-shaped by half. So if you have a 200-foot requirement, you can go down to 100-foot. This is intended for cul-de-sacs where your radial lot lines start from an initial point in the center of your cul-de-sac. So by the time you get past your front yard setback, your lot is now wide enough to accommodate all your bulk requirements. Builders are using this that if they have a straight road with 10-foot of curve, they now want to be able to reduce that frontage down by half. Jack's recommendation was that we add into the ordinance that it requires that at least 2/3 of the lot line be on the curve.
It's reasonable, and it stays within the scope of things that had been originally intended for the size of the cul-de-sac. And then we don't get into issues with the fire department as well, trying to make or negotiate such a cul-de-sac. So it's important. And the last item, which I didn't put there, is just a request that the zoning board gets copies of any changes that you folks make or recommendations on zoning changes, like you have maybe half a dozen tonight.
Got to put the mic back over, they can't hear you.
I'm sorry.
John Costigan was
Yeah, John
I should have known it
John
was
Costigan was young.
He does that every meeting to us.
Put a line item budget for a hearing aid for John?
Now, wait a minute, I'm going to have to call you out of order on that one, just to be fair about it. Mr. Maggid's going to get upset with me, and I don't
Hold on, we
do
have that,
cause.
hold on, Mayor, we have that sonic ear in the back. We can let John use it.
Go ahead, fellas.
Okay, well, just that we be included on that notice
Yeah,
beforehand,
that's a good
before it's voted on, in case we want to send any member here to you folks to offer any other comments based on our experiences.
Okay.
We would appreciate it.
Makes sense.
End of story.
All right, my recommendation to the council, at least we've done this historically, doesn't make it right, wrong, or indifferent, is that we had to historically let the manager take a look at the recommendations, have him and his team, the department heads, go through it, and in many instances, as the chairman can tell you, we've actually written some new laws or updated old
Yes.
ones in light of their recommendations. So unless the council disagrees, I think we should direct Mr. Chernietsky to have an opportunity to go through it, talk about it with his department heads, and come back to us with, from an implementation perspective, what things they agree and think we should take some action on.
Yes.
Any questions for these two fine gentlemen?
One quick one, if I may.
Please.
I just want to make sure, I know that on our EULA review last year, you made quite a number of I'm going to say inconsistency, more teeth to our ordinances.
Yes.
Have you found that we've adhered and we've changed most of them, or are we missing some? Because basically what you're defining and you're asking here for are the inconsistencies and more teeth.
That's true. I think there was an attempt. I think that probably part of the problem was us as well. I would much prefer that we set up some kind of a work session, maybe quarterly, where we could work with the manager and provide more input, even prepare written input, so it's much more specific as to what we're going to achieve.
Right.
And I think that maybe we should have done some of that too.
My next question would be, Mayor, would it be prudent for us, in light of these 12 comments, if we were to get feedback or some ordinance changes from the council that represents the zoning board? Would that help us? Would that expedite the situation here?
I think it would. I guess it's a,
Maybe a money saving.
yeah.
It may save time, money, and expedite the process, and eliminate anything that we may miss because we're not zoning board members, where it affects them on a monthly basis, and their council may be more accustomed or attuned to what we're missing.
Mayor,
Okay, Mr. Chernietsky?
if I may make one suggestion. The way we're trying to implement the master plan is we're taking it one bite at a time. And I think we're hitting, between my office and the planning board's master plan review committee, I think we're starting to hit a nice stride in terms of questions back and forth. Now that my office is taking a more active role in the development of the ordinances. So I actually, on Thursday night, leave questions for them or suggestions to give me some feedback on, and I have it the next day. I leave it on the table here. I don't know if it would be inappropriate, maybe we not something to decide here, but I wonder if it makes sense to have a member of the zoning board on the master plan, the subcommittee that reviews the master plan, because we are getting into the detailed aspects of ordinances.
Great suggestion.
Mr. Chinesky? Years ago, when I was on zoning, I used to sit in on master plan on an informal basis from zoning. Rather than having to go through the same process or go through the process of formalizing this, we can just do it in an informal manner if that's no problem.
Because what we had done, and I was thinking as you were talking, because what we had done in the past is we gave one large land use ordinance to implement the whole master plan. Now, as you can see, we're sort of separating these into many, many, and then when they're in draft form, we send them down to the review committee, and as a matter of fact, we're pulling a whole bunch off because of feedback I got from the review committee. So, like I said, we're hitting a nice stride, and it seems to work well that way.
Great.
Mr. Walsh, you have a comment, sir?
Yeah, I thank you for the time, and obviously, your knowledge is scary. You know what? I mean, a lot of things you're talking about, could be helpful to the town, both now and in the future. So, I do appreciate that. I know you are all volunteers also. I would like to know if there would be a possibility if you give suggested ordinances that you'd like changed to the Ordinance Review Committee, which we'll be appointing tonight, with your suggestions on how you would like them changed. I mean, we're going to have to... I heard you be a little bit gray before when you said, well, some things we started to, but we need to get after it. I mean, let's look at these 12 things. Let's review them and let's do it. I mean, we got to watch builders coming in and a 10-foot curve trying to, change. It's not the spirit of the ordinance.
Correct.
And if we need to change some things, we're in the middle of doing the ordinance now for the master plan. I think we could expedite things in our discussions now if we knew exactly what it is and suggestions on how you'd like them changed.
Well, the two that we gave you the numbers on, 188.4, which I believe addresses the curve, and I forget which the other number was.
188, 165.
Yes, would be two very good ones to start with.
But we can do that. I would almost prefer something like that, because I think that was our problem in implementing. I think the council's response last year was excellent, and it was encouraging. But I think that we need to do something, even quarterly, and produce some written input that someone else could review, and we would be willing to commit to do that. If we knew that then it was going to go to a working body and it was really going to happen, like you suggested.
I mean, I'd love to see, like, if you have 12 examples here.
Yes.
I would love for us at the end of June, July, turn around and say, well, 5 of these have been addressed, there's still 7 on the board.
Yes.
3 of them we kind of don't agree with.
Right.
Okay, right. But at least we know where we're going.
Absolutely.
Okay?
I think that's wise and what we should do.
And with a lot of these things, it comes down to being you are the lawmakers here. It's what you want with these ordinances. We're just trying to eliminate discrepancies between, and where we have especially discrepancies that are being exploited by applicants, being that it is time of decision. If we can get a timely change in an ordinance or elimination of a discrepancy, it gives us a stronger basis if we deny them, to where they aren't going to come and win on appeal because another section of the ordinances say something different.
Yeah, in 9 years, we had 2 cases returned to us. They weren't both overturned, but they were returned to us to re-review and resolve several issues. So I think we're generally on the right track, but we're, I think, becoming more and more vulnerable. And that's what we need to avoid. So we thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Mr. Czerniewski, you're going to go through this to the point we talked about, and you'll continue to keep the board updated?
Yes, sir.
The two things hopefully the council can agree with even now is we should really get the entire zoning board on the distribution list, if you will, anytime we're going to begin to deliberate on a potential zone change.
Yes.
So if that's something that is probably more clerical than policy in nature. So if we could execute that, if the council doesn't disagree.
Fine with that.
And I know that I'm particularly appreciative of your comments on the website. To your point, we've made great progress in really making that a self-service hub,
Yes.
if you will. And hopefully, Mr. Chernetsky, on that one as well, because we've been putting many more things out there. If we can get a Q&A guide, maybe you can even give his office some suggested text. Pools is certainly one of them. We all hear about pools and decks. Any additional text you can provide, I'm certain would be a help. Okay, gentlemen, as the Deputy Mayor articulated, we extend our thanks and to the whole board for putting this report together.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, if we move on the agenda, we've got some consent agenda items, and just as a reminder to the public, it's actually our workshop meeting, so tonight is the night where the council really spends a considerable amount of time working through the issues, asking questions and preparing, so when we have our public meeting, when we actually vote on these issues, with some formality, we'll be better prepared to do it. So I'm going to call the council's attention to those items that are marked with an asterisk, which include various consent agenda items. And I believe, want to call the council's attention to some add-ons. We do have a variety of add-on items as well. We do actually have some things tonight where action is required to be taken. But does anyone have any specific comments with respect to the 9B items? It's really 9B and 9C.
May I just have one on 9B7, and I know it was tabled at the last meeting. And if I could just ask the manager, Mr. Chernetsky, I know 9B7 is the one for the change order for Memorial Drive.
Is that 9A7? I'm
B.
sorry.
I have 9B7.
Oh, I'm sorry, because it's on the add-ons.
Yeah.
You're
Now,
right, okay.
I know that, and the barrier between the road and the detention basin on Memorial Drive, I'm imagining that part of this change order is that berm that they built, where every tree that they put in is now dead?
Change order has to do with some landscaping, some drainage issues. Those trees on the berm are on a bond, and they will be replaced.
I see this, I get a sec.
So that's not it's not a new expense.
Okay. Do we need to go into regular session, if you will, to do the add-ons, Ms. Woolman? Okay. Okay. I just ask a member of the council to please make a motion to go into regular session to take action on the add-ons.
So moved, Mayor.
We have a motion, we need a second.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Dalton?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mrs. Showmaker?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mayor DeBella?
Yes. All right, maybe we can just dispense with the add-on. We have Articles 9B7 through 9B15 to be added, unless anyone has an objection. Since the public doesn't have these in front of them, I'll just... we're doing the add-ons now, so if we add these on, they will be on the agenda. I would just ask if the folks that are sitting closest to the back, if you wouldn't mind just closing the doors to the chamber, we'd appreciate it. Thank you. All right, 9B7 is a resolution to change order construction of Memorial Drive Access Road. And 9B8 is a resolution of award of a contract to fire suppression systems, North Howell Little League Concession Building. 9B9 is a resolution award of a contract COA attorney services land acquisition. 9B10 is a refund for the Ardenia Parent Teacher Association raffle. 11 is the refund of unused escrow funds for AHB at Howell on Fairfield Road. 9B12 is the return of 2/3 of a deposit for a road opening under permit 2005-29 for New Jersey American Water. 9B13 is a resolution for preliminary, tentative, and final sewer approval for Rosenreich. 9B14 is a resolution for budget transfer. 9B15 is a resolution increasing the temporary budget. If we vote in the affirmative, it would merely be to add these. So we need a motion and a second, please, to add these to the agenda.
So moved, Mayor.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any comments? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mrs. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mrs. Shoemaker?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mayor DeBella?
Yes. All right, any comments now with respect to any of the add-on items? And I have a couple, but I'll reserve those until the council goes first. Any comments on the add-ons? All right, with respect to the budget transfer, Mr. Chinyetsky, through either you or Mr. Filiaccio, just for everyone's benefit, if you could articulate this budget transfer.
Yeah, it's not for action tonight. It is not completed as of yet, but we have until March 31st in which to do any transfers in the 2006 appropriation reserves, the budget from last year. And I list this every March, and I'm analyzing the appropriation reserves now because if there's any accounts that are short that a bill subsequently comes in, we can't transfer the money after March 31st. So I'm reviewing it. I list it on the budget or on the agenda every March. If I see any accounts that seems short or slow or low on money, I will propose and make that transfer. In no way are we spending it unless it's a legit 2006 bill. Any money not spent on that 2006 budget will revert to the surplus at the end of this year. So I'm just going to analyze it, see any accounts that look short, shuffle some money around to make sure there's enough money in case a late bill should come in, and that'll all cancel off at the end of the year.
Okay, and then the other one I had is just increasing the temporary budget, 9B15.
Yes, when we adopted a temporary budget in January, it was limited to 25% of last year's budget. I project with the pace of our budget hearings that we'll run out of money by the end of March and beginning of April. So I'm proposing to increase the temporary budget to carry us through our budget hearings until we can actually adopt the final budget. This is something normally we do on a regular basis, probably almost monthly now, until we actually get our budget completed.
Okay. All right. Does the council have any other questions or comments on any of the 9B items which are obviously consent agenda?
Mayor?
Go right ahead.
Not on, if I maybe, not on 9B, but on for consent and action tonight in the 9C.
Yep.
Can I go there?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Under 9C4, appoint members to Finance Review Committee in accordance with Resolution 0774. I did review, we asked that this be tabled and review actually, it would be 9C1. I reviewed 9C1, 9C4, and 9C5. And I would just like to name some of those. I don't know how you want to do that, but I have some names
Sure.
I'd like to.
What I'd like to do, if we can, when we get to those, obviously, we are going to take action on those tonight. We are in regular session. And what I want to just ask the council's general consideration is, why don't we start right with 9C1? If we're comfortable with the other items, all the 9Bs, why don't we just start right with the first one and try and go through all of them? And at that time, people can certainly enter into nomination anyone for those committees. Is that appropriate for the council?
Let's do them one at a time, Mayor.
You got it. The first one is in tab 4 in our book. And tab 4 is 9Cs. Under the motions, we have a vacancy to the Cultural Arts and Heritage Committee. This term expires at the end of next calendar year.
Mayor, if I may, I'd like to suggest into nomination Linda Irvine. We did get a nice note, an email from Mrs. Hines saying that she was requesting her. So I would like to put her name in there.
You make that in the form of a motion?
Yes, sir. I'd like to nominate Linda Irvine.
Okay, we have a motion. We need a second for Miss Irvine. Is there a second for Linda Irvine? I'll relinquish my chair to make that second. I second the nomination. Okay. Are there any other nominations to be considered? This is 9C1, Cultural Arts and Heritage Committee. Well, we have a motion and a second. There may be,
I can make a motion. I don't see something in there from Lloyd McEwen that I had at home.
all right, so under remarks, I think the Deputy Mayor's question is, you got one from Ms. McEwen? From
Yeah, I had one back in December,
Okay.
and I saw a letter saying there isn't one here.
That's correct.
Right.
There was an inquiry to the office that I think her name was Miss McEwen. I don't have the notes in front of me, but if I wrote it there, that's the name. There was, and I did not have that on file. I told, the phone, we had a phone call, and I asked them to resubmit because I did not have anything on file. And not, I don't have a new one. There was not another one resubmitted.
Did I answer your question?
I'll make a motion that we appoint Lloyd McEwen. Or do we need to vote on the first one first?
Well, just from a parliamentary procedure, Mr. Bongiovanni, we have more than one motion, there's only one seat.
On the first, I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor,
Please.
you're supposed to vote on the first one.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any additional comments on, you'll have to forgive me, Mrs. Showmaker, the name is?
Linda Irvin.
Linda Irvine.
Linda Irvine, okay. Any other comments on Mrs. Irvine? All right, roll call, please, on Miss Irvine.
Mrs. Dalton?
No.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mrs. Showmaker?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
No.
Mayor DeBella?
Yes. Okay, the next one is 9C2, and that is an appointment to a vacancy on the Broadcast Media Advisory Committee, 9C2. I'll open it up to the council for nominations, please. This is a term that expires December 31st of this year.
Mayor, I'd like to place in the nomination Christopher Silvestri.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for Christopher Silvestri. Any comments or remarks? Okay, hearing none, roll call, please.
Mrs. Dalton?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mrs. Showmaker?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mayor DeBella?
Yes. All right, 9C3, appointing members to vacancies on the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee. It is one position. It expires at the end of this calendar year. Remember, the council would like to make a nomination. We'll entertain it now.
Mayor, I make a motion for Richard Dubrowski.
All right, we have a motion for Richard Dubrowski. How do you say? Dubrowski? Dubrowski. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second on Mr. Dubrowski. Any comments? Okay, hearing no comments, roll call, please.
Mrs. Dalton?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mrs. Showmaker?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mayor DeBella?
Yes. All right, 9C4, this is appointing a variety of members to the newly constructed Finance Review Committee. This is in accordance with Resolution R0774. And I believe that there are
7.
7, is that right, 7 positions?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Mayor, if I can?
Go
I'd
right
like
ahead.
to put in for nomination Robert Goldsman, whose job title is a financial advisor. Richard Eisenstein, which is a business owner, and is asking to be on here. I have to tell you that I reviewed all these resumes, and there's some very, very fine resumes here. Marla Trussell, Augustine Anfuso, Elizabeth Hine, Frankie Frances, and Miss Dalton, not to be, Joseph Dalton, that's not a relative of yours, is it?
Actually, Joseph F. Dalton, he's my father-in-law, but not this Joseph F.
Okay.
Dalton.
I just,
Different
Joseph,
Dalton? Is that right?
Absolutely. His middle name's probably Francis, too, I
yeah,
suspect.
Joseph,
Leave Francis alone now.
Joseph F. Dalton. And all of these have excellent backgrounds in financing. I mean, their resumes were very impressive. And that's why I don't know any of these people, I just went by their resume, Mayor.
Okay. All right, we have motions for 7 different people. I tried to take my notes here. Robert Goldsman, Richard Eisenstein, Marla Trussell, Augustine Infuso, Elizabeth Hine, Frankie
Frances.
Frances, and Joseph Dalton. Since I suspect there could be other nominations, maybe we should take these one at a time rather than move them in totality. So why don't we start with Robert Goldsman? Mr. Showmaker, are you okay with doing these individually?
However you think,
Okay.
whatever you want to do.
So I'd ask that you just make a motion make a motion to introduce Robert Goldsman.
So move, Mayor.
We need a second. We have a motion and a second. Any comments on Mr. Goldsman? You have a question, Ms. Dalton?
No, I just want to make sure that procedurally.
Procedurally.
Should we be doing this?
Yeah, if you're going to do it that way, then each one should be voted on.
Individually,
And you
right?
can ask for, and you can also ask for any other nominations for this. Yeah, it's like you're filling one seat at a time.
Exactly.
Do we
See, the
have-
concern I had from a parliamentary procedure is if Mrs. Showmaker tried to move all 7, and let's say I had a problem with the 4th name of the 7, I would vote no, but I might not necessarily want to vote no for all of them, just one of them.
Right.
Please, Ms. Dalton.
Mr. Mayor, what I would like to see us do procedurally is get all the other names of nominees out on the table before we take Mrs. Shoemaker's list.
Good idea. All right.
Absolutely.
Why don't we go, Mr. Walsh, we have 7 names for Mrs. Showmaker. Do you have any specific names that she's not already mentioned that you'd like to add to that list?
I'd like to add Suzanne Weitengruber,
Okay. Anyone else?
Phil Sanfilippo,
Okay.
or Sanfilippo.
Anyone else?
No, I'm okay there.
Okay.
I think that's it.
Mr. Howell, anyone else you'd like to add that isn't already on the list?
No, Mayor, I'm good with all of the names that are.
Okay, Mrs.
None.
Dalton? None. All right, so the names we have, Mr. Goldsman, Mr. Einstein, Ms. Trussell, Mr. Infuso, Ms. Hine. I don't know whether Frankie is a man or a woman, so Frankie Frances, and Joseph Dalton, Suzanne Weitengruber, and Philip Sanfilippo. So if we're going to go, so we've got them all out. That's everybody, right? Okay, so why don't we now start with, unless anyone has an objection, we can start with Mr. Goldsman. Is that satisfactory, everybody?
That's fine.
Okay. So we need a motion, please, on Mr. Goldsman.
So move, Mayor.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any comments? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mrs. Dalton?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mrs. Showmaker?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mayor DeBella?
Yes, so that's one. Okay, the next one is, and if anyone has any particular way they'd like to go in order of these, please let me know. I don't really, go ahead, Ms. Dalton. You have a question?
Well,
Go right ahead.
I would, I'm going to suggest then you just entertain a motion for any
You
other
got it.
nominations.
I'll entertain a motion for whatever name anyone would like to make next.
Mr.
Make a
Mayor?
motion for Suzanne Weitengruber.
Second.
Ooh, phew, fine. Okay. We have a motion and a second. Any remarks? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mrs. Dalton?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mrs. Showmaker?
No.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mayor DeBella?
No. All right, so that's 2 spots. Who else would like to enter a nomination?
Mr. Mayor,
Please.
I'll nominate Joseph F. Dalton, no relation.
I'll
Okay.
second that.
We have a motion and we have a second. Any comments on Joseph Dalton, no relation?
By the way, my father-in-law, Joseph F. Dalton, watches these meetings religiously, so I just want to say hi to him.
Stay home, you know that Joseph F. Dalton.
Okay.
Hi, Dad.
And I'm not appointing him to anything.
That's not in the protocol.
All right, we have a motion and a second for Joseph Dalton. Any final remarks? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Dalton?
Yes?
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mrs. Showmaker?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mayor DeBella?
Yes. All right, and entertain a motion to proceed. Another name, please.
Mayor, I'd like to enter motion Elizabeth Hine.
All right, we have a motion. We need a second. I will relinquish the chairmanship to step down and second the nomination.
Nice.
Any comments?
Any comments?
I make a comment, Mayor. Ms.
right
Hine, Ms. Hine has worked in finance most of her life and has worked for the local newspapers for over 20 years in a business aspect of finance.
Okay. You're up.
Roll
Want to
call.
vote?
Roll call.
Anybody else? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Dalton?
No?
Mr. Howell?
No.
Mrs. Showmaker?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
No.
Mayor DeBella?
Yes. All right, so let's continue with nominations, please.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to nominate Augustine Enfuso.
Okay, we have a motion, we need a second.
I'll second.
Any remarks on Mr. Mancuso? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mrs. Dalton?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mrs. Showmaker?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mayor DeBella?
Yes. All right, that's 4. Okay, another nomination, please.
I would like to nominate Mr. Sanfilippo.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any comments on Mr. Sanfilippo? Okay, hearing none, roll call, please.
Mrs. Dalton?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
No.
Mrs. Showmaker?
No.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mayor DeBella?
Yes. Okay, we'll continue with nominations, please. That's 5.
Mayor, I'd like to enter into Frankie Frances.
Okay, we have a
He is
motion.
a certified public accountant, I think would be a huge
Second.
asset.
We have a motion and a second. Any remarks? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mrs. Dalton?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mrs. Showmaker?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mayor DeBella?
Yes, and final nomination, please.
Who do we have left?
We have
Somebody just
Richard,
recap that?
sure, Richard Einstein. I may be mispronouncing that.
Eisenstein.
Eisenstein, I'm sorry. Richard Eisenstein, Marla Trussell.
I would like to enter into nomination Marla Trussell.
Okay. We have a
Can I
motion,
ask
we need
them
a second.
who we have left, just so I could look at the three of them?
Yeah, I just-
Two of them. You have Richard
Mayor, if I
Of the
could.
two that were entered
and
into
Marla.
commentary. So we have a motion on Marla Trussell, but we do need a second.
Yeah, I'm not against it, they just wanted to see it, that's all.
Her resume's in there.
This, Mayor, this is for Marla Trussell.
Is that the nomination, Mrs. Showmaker?
I'll
Yes, it is.
second.
All right, we have a motion and we do have a second. Are there any comments or remarks?
Mayor, I'd just like to make one comment. I have to say that most of the applicants have extensive financial background, most of them.
Okay. We do have motion on the floor for Marla Trussell. Any final comments? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mrs. Dalton?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mrs. Showmaker?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mayor DeBella?
Yes. Okay, so we are finished with the new Finance Review Committee.
Mr. Mayor, can I
Yes, ma'am.
point?
Sure.
May we just restate all
Absolutely.
7,
Yeah.
please?
The,
Want me to do it?
do you have them handy, Mrs. Showmaker? Go right ahead.
Marla Trussell, Frankie Frances, Augustine Anfuso, Mrs. Weidengruber, Robert Goldsman, Joseph Daltman, and Phil Sanfilippo.
Okay. All right, the next is 9C5. This is appointments to the Ordinance Review Committee in accordance with resolutions, 775. And we do have a variety of applications in our packet. Why don't we follow and just have everyone basically say aloud the names that you'd like to have entered in for complete consideration. Mrs. Dalton, you want to start with you and just give us the names you'd like to be considered?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd like the council to consider John Lebrio, Irene Marks Braley,
Hold on one second. I'm going to try and write them down. John Librio,
Irene Marks Braley, Michelle Flaherty, Karen Morlino, Donna Miller.
Michelle Flaherty. Who was after Miss Flaherty? I'm sorry.
Karen Morlino.
Okay, and the
Donna
last-
Miller.
Donna Miller. Okay. Mr. Howell, anyone to add?
Mayor, can we go through those names again, please?
Sure, the names, John Librio, Irene Braley, Michelle Flaherty, Karen Merlino, Donna Miller.
Sal Massaro Jr.
I didn't see Karen Molino's application last time nor this time.
It was in our packet tonight.
Oh, it's in tonight's packet? I didn't get a packet tonight.
It's on the dais.
Oh, it's in the add-on materials? Okay. It's in your packet there, Mrs. Showmaker, then. Okay.
Donna Miller.
Okay. Anyone else, Mr. Howell, you'd like to
Professional
add?
planner.
We can come back to you, Mr. Howell.
Yeah, Mayor, if you would,
Of
please.
course. Mrs. Showmaker, anyone you'd like to add?
I'd like to add Salvatore Massero, who is actually, could shed a lot, I think, to have a lot of experience in this situation. He is a construction official and subcode official for other communities in Monmouth County who might be able to help put teeth into our ordinances. I would like to put into nomination Terry Van Ness, who is a professional engineer. I would also like to put into, I think we put in Donna Miller was one of the names,
Ms. Miller is
who is also a professional planner and former zoning officer. I would like this, Richard Eisenstein has over and over put an application to get involved in our community.
I think he's,
Did we just put him on?
I think he.
On the
is
We
he
did
on
not,
the
we
list?
did not put him on our, no,
He
we
did not.
didn't.
All right.
And he has
Okay.
applied over and over and over again. And it's nice to get some people that we haven't utilized to bring into, to get new ideas. So I would like to also put his name on the list.
It's Richard
Eisenstein.
Eisenstein. Okay. Okay, Mr. Walsh, anyone you'd like to add to the list that hasn't been mentioned?
I'm fine with the list, Mayor.
Okay, Mr. Howell, anyone else?
Mayor, Mrs. Schumacher, did you add Sal Massaro Jr. to yours?
Yes, I
Okay.
did.
That was the only one I was.
Okay, Mrs.
concerned
Dalton?
about.
Mr. Mayor, I have a point of inquiry regarding Ms. Van Ness.
Sure.
Maybe I should direct it to council.
Please, go right ahead.
Is my understanding from her application that she's not yet an actual resident, though she owns property? Is that right? She's building? Or am I misunderstanding that? And if so, are we able to
Sure.
approve
It's a good-
her
it's a good point.
application?
Does
That's-
Mr.
yeah.
Bongiovanni have that in front of him? Or we have
Let
it?
me see what the ordinance said. I think the ordinance may actually make reference to it being residence. Yeah, I think, yeah, it says 5 township residents.
Yeah, because the residence here says Wall, New Jersey, although this person appears to be a property owner. Maybe they
I think she's
rented or-
building,
is that
actually. I
right?
think I saw we approved a sewer preliminary application a few weeks ago.
Okay.
Yeah, this resolution
That's the case.
requires it to be residents, as
So-
do most of your citizens.
So that will
advisory
invalidate
committees.
procedurally Ms.
Her.
Van Ness. Okay. All right, was there anyone else that we wanted to add? Let me read the names that have been suggested thus far. Mr. Librio, Ms. Braley, Ms. Flaherty, Ms. Merlino, Ms. Miller, Mr. Massaro, and Mr. Eisenstein. Is there anyone else? And how many total positions are there?
Aye.
There's 5 seats. Okay. All right, why doesn't a member of the council just proceed, and we'll act on these individually?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to nominate John Lebrio to the Ordinance Review Committee. Mr. Lebrio was one of the original members of the Ordinance Review Committee, handled the job very professionally, and did a great job, and I don't think that it would be appropriate if he weren't part of it again.
Thoroughly agree. We need a second.
Second.
Okay, any comments? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mrs. Dalton?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mrs. Showmaker?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mayor DeBella?
Yes. Okay, next nomination, please.
Mayor, I'd like to place Salvatore Massaro Jr.
Okay, we have a motion, we need a second.
Second.
Motion for Salvatore Massara, and it's been seconded. Any comments? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mrs. Dalton?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mrs. Showmaker?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mayor DeBella?
Yes.
Mayor, I'd like to place into nomination Donna Miller.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on Ms. Miller. Any comments? Hearing none, roll call.
Mrs. Dalton?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mrs. Showmaker?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mayor DeBella?
Yes.
Mayor, if I could, I'd like to make a motion to nominate Karen Merlino for a spot on the Ordinance Review Committee.
All right, we have a motion, we need a second.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any comments or remarks?
Just one quick question. I know that Karen is on, how many other boards is she on?
I don't know.
I think she's on the Rent Control Board.
Yeah, I think that's the only one.
Recreation and Citizen?
And Rec Advisory.
Rec Advisory and Rent
I
Control.
have MRSA planning, she's not still on MRSA? No, right?
No.
She's not on that?
No.
Not for 2 years.
Okay.
2 years.
That's good.
Wayne Lucy's on her MRSA spot.
One of them.
He's on that one.
All right, any additional comments?
No, Mrs.,
We were doing
It's
so
okay.
good.
It's okay.
We were doing so good. We were doing good.
I'm sorry, Mayor. I'm sorry.
All right, any other comments on this
yeah,
nomination? Okay, roll call, please.
Mrs. Dalton?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mrs. Showmaker?
yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mayor DeBella?
No. Next nomination, please.
Mayor, I'd like to place Michelle Flaherty.
All right, we have a motion, we need a second.
Second.
Any comments on Ms. Flaherty? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mrs. Dalton?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mrs. Showmaker?
What number is this, 4 or 5?
This
Five.
would be
Five.
No.
No, this would be 4. 1, 2.
We have Miller.
Librio,
Yeah,
Miller,
Librio,
Massaro.
Massaro, Morlino.
This is number 5.
No.
Sorry,
Morlino.
okay. That's right. You're a no. Okay, a no. Okay.
Yes.
Mr. Walsh, yes. Mayor DeBella?
Yes.
That's it.
It's that.
Okay. All right. Next is the alternate member to the
Farmers Advice.
Farmers Advisory Committee, and there are several applicants, I'm sure. This is one position?
I believe.
I'm sorry, these were the two. We can't?
No, we have to adopt the ordinance.
Oh, okay, so we need to come back to 9C6.
And the next one, the preservation. We'll put those two
All right, so 9C6 and 7, we need to come back. We do have a vacancy on the Manasquan Watershed Management Group. This term expires 12/31/07. Is there a nomination for this position?
Mayor, I would like to nominate Mr. Stanley Marciniak.
Okay, we have Mr. Marciniak.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Under comments.
Under comments, Mayor, has anyone talked to Stanley? Does he want to do that? Because I know he's kind of taken a back seat to things because of health reasons.
Yeah, we actually, Mrs. Schumacher, I believe I got a letter from Mr. Allen, because at the beginning of the year, we were, Mr. Saya had been the other representative.
Okay,
So,
wonderful.
yeah,
Stanley,
we got a
I have no
request from
objections.
Stanley.
I just want to make sure that
Right.
he's in agreement with it, so we're not back here. No, Stanley's a wealth of knowledge. I have no problem with that.
All right, any other comments? Okay, roll call, please, on Mr. Marciniak.
Mrs. Dalton?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mrs. Showmaker?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mayor DeBella?
Yes. All right. 989, we need to accept the resignation of a member of the Recreation Advisory Committee, and if appropriate, appoint someone to fill the expired term.
I just wanted to interrupt just for
Go
a
ahead.
minute on this resignation. I've reached out he hasn't exactly resigned. He hasn't participated for, I believe, a year and a half. The clerk's office did receive the memo from the committee requesting that he be replaced. I reached out to him, left message by phone and by letter. So I had anticipated speaking to him or a letter, neither came.
All right, Mr. Bongiovanni, do we have is there some obligation we need to be aware of when someone has missed that many meetings? Is it within our prerogative to replace this particular person?
Some of the
Ms. Bongiovanni, just pull up, sorry, if you'd pull it a little closer.
Some of the citizen advisory committee may have parts of their ordinances that created them may have a provision regarding attendance at meetings. In the absence of that, there's case law on such boards as zoning boards and planning boards for absences. There's specific case law, if not statutory law, about missing 4 consecutive meetings.
Right.
So I assume then by that you could apply the same rules to a Citizens Advisory Committee.
Okay.
I would, however, have to admit that I'm not sure if what the ordinance calls for right
Do
now.
we
if
have
there's
a,
specific
in
one.
deference, Mr. Bongiovanni, maybe we can come back to this one in a minute if we were to work on 10 and 11. Do we have a code book?
Which committee is it again?
This is the Recreation Advisory Committee.
All right. I doubt that there's going to be
Mrs.
anything specific on that.
Okay.
It's an advisory board.
I think what's possibly missing from the whole ordinance book would be a provision that governs all the committees in regards of
Right.
if you miss so many meetings. But
Ms. Schlegel, do you have the ordinance up in front of you? Okay.
He resigned in my eyes if he hasn't shown up in a year and a half. I mean, he hasn't advised nobody for a year and a half. How's that one?
All right, well, look, if no one has a procedural objection, why don't someone make a motion to accept the resignation albeit in an involuntary one.
Mayor, I'll make the motion to accept the resignation of Mr.
Involuntary.
Involuntary resignation, I believe, Mr. Moss.
Okay?
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. Any comments or concerns?
No.
Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mrs. Dalton?
Yes?
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mrs. Showmaker?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mayor DeBella?
Yes. Unless the council disagrees, perhaps, Ms. Wellman, we can just send a polite letter that because of the person's inability to have made the meetings, the council respectfully needed to
Absolutely.
get someone else, and, okay? All right.
I don't recall if there were resumes behind that.
Yes, there are.
Are there resumes behind? Okay.
Yeah, Mayor,
Does a
I-
member of the council like to make a motion on rec advisory?
I would like to make a motion for a gentleman named Roland, I hope I'm not pronouncing this wrong,
Gagne?
Gagne. And the reason I'm making this motion, Mayor, and once again, here I am saying, as the senior member of council, I will say that many times I feel that we are a little cliquish or clannish, where we try to keep things in a little family here. We get numerous applications from the public, and yet we have a consistency to go to familiar names and faces. This young man here has experienced leadership in youth athletics, has 18 years plus as a lacrosse coach, camp director, Parks and Recs program instructor, high school head coach, youth head coach, college head coach, coaching certificate, and I just think he's somebody new that's anxious to get involved in the community. I think it would be nice to bring some new information and let people know that we do have an open door and that we do welcome new volunteers to our community.
Okay.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any comments or remarks?
Yeah, I just wish it was always open like this, where new people got put on committees. You know, it's all about one town. It's about Howell Township.
That's correct.
And I'd like to always see it that way. I mean, one of my pet peeves is north, south, and central. I wish it was taken out of everything, every name in Howell Township, because we're one town. And I'm all for adding some people. I don't know who this person is. God bless him. Hope he does well on the Recreation Advisory Committee.
All right, any final comments? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mrs. Dalton?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mrs. Showmaker?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mayor DeBella?
Yes. All right, we also have, we can probably dispense on these quickly. We do need to take action this evening on 9C, 10, and 11. These are two raffles, one for the Adelphia Elementary School. Actually, I'm sorry, two. One is a 50-50, the other is a gift raffle for Adelphia. I'd ask a member of the council to make a motion, please.
So move, Mayor.
A motion, we need a second. All right, motion and a second. Any comments? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mrs. Dalton?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mrs. Showmaker?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mayor DeBella?
Yes. All right, just Ms. Woolman or Mr. Chinesky, just remind me, I don't want to overlook it, that we need to revisit 6 and 7. I'm sorry, actually, I believe it's just, what is it, 6 after we do the ordinance?
Right, no, you're right, 9C6 and 9C7, you
It
were
is
right.
both. Okay, so we'll go back to those items.
Mayor, since you're doing appointments, the secretary to the rent board had called and asked if the council would consider taking action for the rent board. This is Mr. Steve Gordon. He had submitted his application on January 23rd. We gave copies to the council. I know that board does have quite a few vacancies, and she's requested the council to make the appointment of Mr. Gordon.
Of Mr. Gordon,
Stephen Gordon.
Steve Gordon.
We already spoke about him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We, Mayor, if I may.
Mrs. Showmaker.
We did speak about this, and I will tell you that they have a very difficult time getting those positions filled, and if the secretary is asking us, and this man is applied and is willing to be a volunteer on that board, I would like to make a motion that we do so.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second for Mr. Gordon. Are there any additional comments or remarks? Ms. Woolman, for the record, this is the position, to be a position on,
The Mobile Home Rent Control Board.
okay? And this is a unexpired term that expires when, do you know?
It's a one-year term.
1-year term, okay. Any final comments? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mrs. Dalton?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mrs. Showmaker?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mayor DeBella?
Yes. All right, I'm going to
Can I,
go right ahead.
on the issue of the mobile home rent control board, didn't we have a discussion a few months back regarding revisiting how it's structured and looking at some of the other municipalities, because there is such a difficult time at getting people on those boards?
I believe we did, and as I vaguely recall, either Mr. Czerniecki or Mr. Bongiovanni or some combination, we're going to specifically look to see if they could be consolidated or what we could do in light of that issue. I'm not sure if either you gentlemen are able to comment on that now. Do you need a minute? I think it's safe to say you're not prepared to comment on it tonight.
I don't, Mr. Mayor, I didn't bring it up to get comment, but I just, if we can make sure
Make
that
sure
it
it's
gets
on the
added back
docket.
onto the agenda.
It's on the docket, we assume?
Mayor, if I may.
We'd like to talk about it.
Okay, sure.
Ms. Dalton, I just want to I want to make sure, there's two different entities. There's the Rent Control Board, and then there's the Rent Control Advisory Committee. There's an advisory committee also. And I thought that there was the Rent Control Advisory Committee that we were trying to, that has so many members, so many that are in, that live in trailer parks, that don't live, I mean, it's a
Right.
very, I think that's
I think
what we were concerned with.
The purpose was to see if we could adopt an ordinance that didn't require that you have to be, for example, the owner of a trailer park to be a member, if they could all be just, people who live there or whatever. And we did very little research was needed on it, and you definitely could, make the composition of the board different than the way it is. There's no state requirement that it be the Rent Control Stabilization Board. I don't remember doing any work
Right.
on the advisory committee.
Which would help tremendously to fill those vacancies.
Yeah, and I don't know why it's, what happened after that. Maybe it's just been dropped on other priorities. But if you would like me to draft a revision to the ordinance, just give me a direction and it'll be at the next meeting.
What's the pleasure of the council? I think we'd
I'd
like
see
to.
it, yeah.
Everyone
Because
agree?
after I wrote that memo, there was no further discussion on it. and
Okay.
so
I think the
was-
pleasure of the council would be for your office in conjunction with the manager to look at some best practices, some consolidation, easier to get a quorum, easier to get people involved. Okay? So you'll add it to the priority list. The other thing, and I don't want anyone to take this comment inappropriately, because our meetings are televised, I've actually gotten some correspondence from residents who live in some of these communities asking that we refer to them as mobile home parks. There are some people that at times are offended by references to the contrary, or to call them trailer parks, what have you, and it's a very fair observation. American media and comedians and the like have acted somewhat disrespectfully to certain kinds of communities, and there is a certain sensitivity to people that live in the mobile community, and they, my sense is they'd like to be referred to as mobile home parks. So
I think it should be
something we
pointed-
should all be sensitive to.
I think it should be pointed out that Township has been sensitive to that in a way, because that's what the ordinance terms it.
Absolutely. I mean, from time to time, all of us, me included, refer to it as something different. And I've gotten emails from people who said, I watched you guys on TV, and my neighbors and I don't like it when you refer to our communities as something other than mobile home parks. So
I
it's something
lived
for
in
all
a
of us.
fine mobile home park in my youth. A
Absolutely.
fine one I lived in.
That's right.
Have fond memories.
All right, I'm going to call the council's attention to the balance of the agenda. We do have, obviously, some unfinished business, specifically a variety of items to be acted on this evening. Mr. Czerniecki reminds me that we will not be acting this evening. We will not be introducing, if you will, Articles 9A2, 9A3, and 9A4. We will, however, introduce 9A5, 9A6, 9A7.
No, Mayor, actually,
Seven's off.
I'm sorry, is 7 off as well?
yes, we're not.
Oh, I'm sorry,
proceeding.
you're right. I misread your handwriting.
Mayor, we'll also, in discussing it with the attorney, we won't do 9A5 either.
So we're not doing 9A5.
So in terms of introductions, it's 9A1 and 9A6.
6.
All right, so it's 9A1 and 9A6.
Yes, however, I would like to review 9A2, 9A3 with council, have some discussion with council.
Why don't we
on
start
it.
with 8A1? This was obviously introduced on February 6th. 8A1 is amending the land use development application requirements for environmental impact reports. The public hearing and a potential adoption is slated for this evening. Second. As such, Ordinance 0074, introduced and passed on a first reading on February 6, 2007, and published according to law, is now being taken upon further consideration at a public hearing. Affidavit of the publication of this ordinance in the Asbury Park Press issue of February 9th is submitted, and is noted that a copy of the ordinance was posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building, and copies are available to the general public upon request. Ms. Woolman, would you please read the title of the ordinance?
An ordinance of the Township of Howell, Monmouth County, New Jersey, amending Chapter 188 Land Use, Article 2, entitled Development Application Requirements, to correct an inaccuracy in the existing ordinance.
Okay, I'm going to open up the meeting to members of the public who might like to make a comment for or against the final adoption of this ordinance. If you'd like to be recognized, please come forward. Come on up. Mrs. Dixell, come on up.
Mr. Kniska, will you break out the clock?
Well, actually, as it relates to ordinances, there is no limitation on time, although I'm certain Mrs. Dixell can give us her position.
I will try to condense.
Good evening, Mrs. Dixell.
Good evening.
If you just give us
Barbara
your...
Dixell, D-I-X-E-L, The Villages, Howell Township, Freehold, Monmouth County. Okay, what is the inaccuracy in this?
Mr. Chernyatsky, the inaccuracy is...
Sure. In Section 188-6, the environmental report, letter 7, references Chapter 320, and the reference should have been to Chapter 188.
Which says?
Well, that's all this ordinance would do. It's an inaccurate reference within this environmental impact report, that the plan and the tree removal permit application have to be submitted in accordance with, and the correct place to find that in the code is Chapter 188.
Okay. Is there any way that I could, I just want to say on the record that I find that when I go to some of these meetings, planning board, whether it be planning or zoning, environmental impact statements, I just want to say it for the record, that a lot of the applicants continually ask for waivers and variances that they don't have to give an environmental impact statement.
Yeah, Mrs. Dixell, I
It
think
is
your
not-
comments are certainly worthy of discussion,
Okay.
but they don't necessarily apply
All
to
right.
the correction of this ordinance. Perhaps under general comment, you may want to come
I'd
back
love
and raise
this
that point.
council to tighten up
Okay.
so that they don't get away with it. Hold their
Terrific.
feet to the fire.
Okay. We'll get you back up on that issue at a later time. Anyone else who'd like to, do you have anything else on this updated ordinance?
No,
Okay.
that was my
Okay.
concern on this.
Anyone else from the public who'd like to be heard for or against this ordinance? All right, seeing no one, I'm going to close the public hearing on this ordinance, and I would ask a member of the council to please make a motion.
Motion to ordinance number 0-07-4 be finally passed and adopted, and the notice of its passing and adoption be published in the 3907 issue, the Asbury Park Press, by reference to its title only.
Okay, we have a motion, we need a second.
Second.
We have a second by Mrs. Dalton. Any comments or remarks? All right, hearing none, roll call, please.
Mrs. Dalton?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mrs. Showmaker?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mayor DeBella?
Yes. All right, next is 8A2. We had this introduced on February the 6th. Public hearing and adoption is scheduled for this evening. This ordinance makes applicable the provisions of Subtitle 1 of 39 with various traffic regulations to AHB at Howell Fairfield Road. Accordingly, ordinance number 007, introduced and passed on a first reading on February 6, 2007, and published according to law, is now being taken upon further consideration of public hearing. Affidavit of the publication of this ordinance in the Asbury Park Press issue of February 9th is submitted, and is noted that a copy of the ordinance has been posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building, and the copies are available to the general public upon request. Ms. Woolman, would you please read the title of the ordinance?
An ordinance of the Township of Howell, Monmouth County, New Jersey, authorizing Block 177, lots 129.01 and 130 at Fairfield Road, a minor subdivision, to be subject to Subtitle 1, Title 39 of the Revised Statutes of New Jersey with traffic regulations applicable to said roadways, streets, driveways, and parking lots by motor vehicles.
Okay, I'm going to open up a hearing to members of the general public who'd like to make comments for or against the final adoption of this ordinance. Anyone who'd like to be heard, please come forward. All right, let the record reflect there's been no acknowledgement for public comment. I'm going to close the public portion. Member of the council, please make a motion.
May I make a motion that ordinance number 0-07-5 be finally passed and adopted, and that notice of its passage and adoption be published in the 3907 issue of the Asbury Park Press by reference to its title only.
We have a motion. We need a second.
Second.
Have a second. Are there any remarks?
Mayor,
Go right ahead.
this was brought up to our attention by a homeowner, correct? At the
No.
Ms. Bongiorno, I'm sorry, we couldn't. if
I
you
know
would,
I know this pertains to commercial building. I just want to know how it was brought before council.
Okay,
I believe it was part of the development application, that the indication was that this applicant would request Title 39 enforcement.
Okay.
Basically, it allows the police to write tickets
Okay, that's what I want. I just
as if
for
it
the
were a
record.
public street.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, if I could.
Go right ahead, sir.
Schumacher, I think I sat on that planning board hearing way back, and the reason for the no left turn was to keep trucks from going down Fairfield Road towards 524.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Ms. Dalton, sure.
can I, this property is, what's there? Is that the industrial park? It's not the place, it's not where the gymnastics?
Yeah,
It's right next door, I believe. Is that right?
yeah.
Mr. Nunziato?
It's right next door, correct.
Oh, okay. So that when you're in the
It's a
gymnastics?
self-storage.
Okay, but so if you're in the gymnastics lot,
They're
you
separated.
can still make a left-hand turn?
Yes.
Okay, I'm just,
Okay. Any additional comments or remarks? All right, hearing none, roll call, please.
Mrs. Dalton?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mrs. Showmaker?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mayor DeBella?
Yes. All right, 8A3, this is amending Preservation Task Force, adding 2 additional members. And ordinance number 0076, introduced and passed on a first reading on 2607 and published according to law, is now being taken upon further consideration at a public hearing. Affidavit of the publication of this ordinance in the Asbury Park Press issue of 2907 is submitted, and it is noted that a copy of the ordinance has been posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building, and copies were made available to the general public upon request. Ms. Woolman, would you please read the title of the ordinance?
An ordinance of the Township of Howell, Monmouth County, New Jersey, amending Chapter 2, Article 7, Section 2-51, to provide for 2 additional alternate members to the Preservation Task Force.
Okay, I'm going to open up the meeting to members of the general public. Anyone who'd like to make a comment for or against the final adoption of this ordinance, please come forward. Mr. Costigan, good evening, sir.
Could you please speak into the mic? Just getting you back.
If you just introduce yourself, please, Mr. Costigan.
John Costigan, 240. I will speak into the mic. Who's doing that? Oh,
You.
that's me. Good. I want to thank the mayor and council for acting on getting these amendments to increase the numbers. Actually, for the next one is coming up also, the Farmers Advisory. I'm hoping that the mayor and governing body will consider, I noticed that you were having names of people that you're going to appoint, that perhaps you would consider letting us share anything with that. I don't know who you have. And prior to your coming onto the governing body, sir, another mayor and council appointed people to the Preservation Task Force. And I wasn't on it at the time, which is fine. But they wound up appointing all non-farmers. And so they had no farmers on there, and the law, the ordinance, and indeed the planning incentive grant for the farmland preservation required 3 out of 5 had to be farmers. So that was a problem. And so that, you know, everyone on the Farmers Advisory must be a farmer. So maybe there should be some input from the 2 committees that you're putting people onto beforehand.
Mayor, if I could, would it be possible just to vote on these ordinances to add the alternate members and then try to reach out to Ms. Crombie and Mr. Costigan to see if they have any recommendation for us as far as the individuals to be appointed to those slots and possibly vote on that at another meeting?
I mean, it's certainly the pleasure of the council if you'd like to not act on those two particular provisions tonight and get feedback. That's certainly the council's
Thank you very much,
prerogative.
because you already took Sal Massaro and put him on the other committee. I was going to use him for that. Thank you.
He
Thanks very
asked
much.
to.
Pardon?
He asked to go on it, sir.
Well, maybe because he knew, no, actually, he was going to come with us.
He could just have your meetings on a different night.
That's possible. All right, thank you very much.
All right, sir.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mr. Costigan. Anyone else who'd like to be heard on this ordinance, please come forward. Anyone else?
Yeah, I'd like to say something. You know, Mr. Costigan, if he wanted to go on that instead of the other one, we had other qualified people that applied to go on these committees.
Come on back up, Mr. Costigan.
We have other qualified people, and I'm okay, you know.
No, it's fine. I wasn't bringing it up. I have other people. I wasn't bringing it up in that vein. I was bringing it up because it would have been one that we would have put on, but we didn't know what you're doing anyway. So if there's no consultation, we don't know, and you guys don't know, so you put him on something else, which is fine. And he may want to be on that other board, that's fine.
I would think so. He sent in an application, said, I'd like to go on that committee. That's how we chose him. We didn't,
Okay.
we didn't.
Well,
we didn't
maybe
put
he
him
was,
up.
maybe he was tired of waiting to get on this committee.
Oh, okay.
All right, thank you, Mr. Costigan.
Thank you.
Anyone else who'd like to be heard on this ordinance? Anyone else? All right, seeing no one else, I'm going to close the public hearing on this portion. I'd ask a member of the council to please proceed.
Motion that ordinance number 0-07-6 be finally passed and adopted, and notice of its passage and adoption be published in the 3907 issue of the Asbury Park Press by reference to its title only.
Okay, we have a
Second.
motion, we have a second as well. Are there any comments from the council? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mrs. Dalton?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mrs. Showmaker?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mayor DeBella?
Yes. Okay, 8A4, this is an amendment to our existing Farmer Advisory Committee ordinance. So, ordinance 007, introduced and it's 077, introduced and passed on first reading on 2607 and published according to law is now being taken upon further consideration to public hearing. Affidavit of the publication of this ordinance in the Asbury Park Press issue of 2907 is submitted, and it is noted that a copy of the ordinance has been posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building, and the copies were available to the general public upon request. Ms. Woolman, would you please read the title of the ordinance?
An ordinance amending Chapter 2, Article 6 entitled Departments to provide for 2 alternate members of the Farmers Advisory Committee.
Okay, I'm going to open up the hearing on this ordinance to members of the public. Anyone who'd like to speak or make a comment for or against the final adoption of this ordinance, please come forward. Anyone who'd like to make a comment for or against this ordinance, please come forward. All right, seeing no one, I'm going to close the public portion. Member of the council, please make a motion.
Motion that ordinance number 0-07-7 be finally passed and adopted, and notice of its passage and adoption be published in the 3907 issue of the Asbury Park Press by reference to its title only.
All right, we have a motion, we need a second.
Second, Mayor.
We have a second by Deputy Mayor Walsh. Any final comments or remarks? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mrs. Dalton?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mrs. Showmaker?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mayor DeBella?
Yes. 8A5, amending the land use, plan mixed use in the, I'm sorry. Yeah, this is, oh, okay, I apologize, I'm moving along fast. All right, so we'll come back and introduce this on, I'm sorry, we'll have our hearing on March 20th. Okay.
We're awaiting planning board comment.
We're
on a
waiting
land use
planning board comment. All right, why don't we, just because we're on this topic, just quickly go back to 9A6 and 9A7. Mr. Howell made mention of potentially holding off on appointing people to the Preservation Task Force.
Mayor, I believe
Farmers
that's
Advisory-
9C, 6, and 7.
9C, I'm sorry, 9C. Do you, is it your, you want to make a motion to hold off and not appoint and have conversation with the committee?
Yes, Mayor, I'd like to make that motion.
All right, so we have a motion, we have a second. This is to not act on 6 and 7 tonight, converse with the committees, and then revisit this at a date to be scheduled by the clerk's office. Any
Fine with
additional
me.
comments?
I would just, my only comment would be that they send recommendations to us.
Is everyone in agreement with that?
Absolutely.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Dalton?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mrs. Showmaker?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mayor DeBella?
Yes. All right, we're into the 9As. Tonight is an introduction, 9A1. This is amending the land use ARE, introduction scheduled for tonight, public hearing and potential adoption on March the 20th. I'm going to ask a member of the council on this one to,
Motion to introduce ordinance number 0-07-9 on first reading by title and to order the same to be published in full in the 3907 issue of the Asbury Park Press, together with notice of its introduction and passage on first reading by title, and that it be further considered for final passage after public hearing in a meeting of the Township Council to be held on March 20th, 2007, 7:30, prevailing time in the municipal building.
the motion. Ms. Wellman, would you read the title?
Do we have a second?
Second.
I'm sorry, we do have a second.
Okay. An ordinance of the Township of Howell, Monmouth County, New Jersey, amending Chapter 188 Land Use to revise the ARE zoning districts to provide lot averaging, open lands, and farmland preservation options, and to establish the ARE-4 zone as recommended by the Master Plan Reexamination Report.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Dalton?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mrs. Showmaker?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mayor DeBella?
Yes. All right, we're not going to act this evening on 9A2, 3, or 4. I think you want to make some comments, Mr. Chinyetsky. Why don't we get through the others, and then we'll come back and listen to your remarks.
Okay.
All right, so we have 9A5. This is amending the zoning map.
No, we're taking.
We pulled 5 as well, which,
Only thing left is 6.
Nine.
so it's just 6. Okay, I'll get it eventually. 9A6, growth share ordinance, scheduled to be introduced tonight.
Motion to introduce ordinance number 0-07-15 on first reading by title and to order the same to be published in full in the 3907 issue of the Asbury Park Press, together with notice of its introduction and passage on first reading by title. And that'll be further considered for final passage after public hearing at a meeting of the Township Council to be held on 3/20/07 at 7:30 p.m. prevailing time in the municipal building.
We have a motion, we need a second.
Second,
We have
Mayor.
a second. Ms. Wellman, would you please read the title?
An ordinance of the Township of Howell, County of Monmouth, State of New Jersey, amending Chapter 188, entitled Land Use of the General Ordinances of the Township of Howell, in order to amend Article 23, entitled Uniform Growth-Based Affordable Housing Production.
Okay, roll call, please.
Mrs. Dalton?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mrs. Showmaker?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mayor DeBella?
Yes. All right, Mr. Chinyetsky, there's some of these you'd like to comment on, is that right?
Yes, just, Mayor and Council, you have seen these ordinances, 9A2 and 9A3, in various versions over the past months, and some of the new council members, Dalton and Howell, have not as council members. They've changed significantly, so I just want to alert you to that fact so you take a close look at the language in both 9A2 and 9A3. Going back just a little bit to the ARE ordinance, I just want to make sure council understands the significance of this. You will recall that a resident once asked us that when we do clustering, we ought to require the applicant to do a nearly fully engineered plan in order to determine what's buildable in order to do clustering. The ordinance you introduced tonight does that, the ARE ordinance. It is a very progressive ordinance. It leverages market forces in your effort to preserve open space. And it really gives the planning board many tools. And I commend the planning board and those council members that sat on the planning board that developed this particular recommendation in the master plan. It is a highlight in the master plan, repeated over and over again. And it was stressed, the design of open space was stressed as much was the design of the built environment and the architectural standards. And I think this is a terrific policy that we're going to have in place for the boards to follow. The ARE ordinance also does one other thing that we don't have. It sets impervious coverage limits in residential zones. And that is going to be very helpful for environmental protection and also in terms of zoning enforcement issues, because lacking impervious coverage limits, we run into a lot of problems where people tend to pave over large portions of their tracts and create flooding issues for their neighbors. So it's really, I think, a very powerful ordinance. In my comments at the last meeting, I said that we want to proceed very carefully. And members of the public, as well as my own staff, indicated to me in looking at the R ordinances, the R1 and others, that there weren't any impervious limits set in the R zones, which, as a matter of fact, is the area that causes a great deal of problem in terms of flooding and neighbor issues. So what we would like to do is send this item back to the Master Plan Review Committee for a recommendation in terms of impervious coverage limits in the existing R zones. If council is in agreement with that, and that's a new feature that wasn't discussed before or seen before at the council level.
Will you give him a note for Thursday night?
I will. I'll give him a nice note.
All right, any questions or comments on this for Mr. Chernetsky?
Mayor, if I might, Mr. Chernetsky, I know I had spoken with you about changing from the ARE1 to R1 as it would pertain to farm issues. I know that when we looked in the code book, it said in an ARE zone that horse stables could be one distance, but once you change that to a residential instead of an agricultural rural estate, they had to be further away. Right. Is that going to be addressed as well?
That was yes it is. That is one of the items that's going to be addressed, but it's not as much a concern because the change from ARE1 to R1. When we just look at those districts, it's not as much of an issue as it was for those folks who were in the ARE2 zone. That was on one of the earlier versions of the master plan change.
All right, thank you. That's it for me.
All right, anything else, Mr. Chernetsky, on this particular item?
No, sir.
Okay. Do you have some other ones, Mr. Chernetsky?
No, I just wanted to make council aware of that, and if you had any opinions on the impervious limits, I would certainly appreciate that guidance.
All right, are there any comments on the impervious limits?
In the R zones.
Mm-hmm. Any general comments? I mean, we could certainly get back to you, I would suspect, individually, either phone call, email,
Okay.
what have you. Okay. Is that Mr. Wall?
No,
Okay.
I'm fine, thank you.
All right. So if that is the case, we have the 9 Bs we need to take action on tonight.
5 and 6.
Which include 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, if I'm not mistaken. Right? Those need to be acted on this evening, Ms. Woolman?
That's correct.
Okay, so some of these were added on only this evening, so we can move these hopefully all at once, unless anyone would like a separate vote. This is 9B 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Ms. Dalton?
I would like to just make a point of order, and
Please.
I think in keeping with our policy protocols for council meetings that we adopted tonight, I believe we need to allow the public an opportunity to speak as to these items which we are going to
take action on.
take action on before we take action.
That's a great point. All right, why don't we open up the meeting to members of the public, anyone who'd like to make a comment or a remark on these items we're going to take action on. This includes items 9B 6, 7, 8, and 9, acceptance of fees for MVP Sports Academy, which is located on Fairfield Road. The Smart Growth Planning Assistance Program is 9B 6. 7 is a construction order to Memorial Drive, the access road. 8 is an award of a contract for fire suppression at the North Howell Little League. And 9 is a resolution of a contract for co-attorney and services land acquisition. Anyone who'd like to be heard on any of those items specifically, please come forward. Anyone who'd like to be heard on those items? Okay, I'm going to close the... Okay, Memorial Drive is 9B 7. It's an add-on, and we're going to take action on it right now. Anyone who'd like to be heard on any of these items?
Go once.
Okay, Mrs. Tixell? Mr. Pritchard?
I was going to bring it up when I was going on public comment, but 97, that's fine. 9B7.
97 is a...
97 is a construction
Change
change order at
That's it.
Memorial Drive.
Nothing
Okay.
else.
I'm holding a
And you are, I'm sorry,
temporary
Mrs. Dixell.
restraining order that was on your website.
Hold on one second. Just for the record, Mrs. Dixell, if you didn't introduce
Barbara
yourself.
Dixell, the Villages, Freehold, Howell Township, Monmouth County. I pulled off the website a temporary restraining order to keep Redbud Lane exit from Pine View Estates to be opened.
What does that have to do with it?
Yeah, Mrs. Dixon, what I'm going to share with you, absent council's direction to the contrary, is that we are in what would appear to be litigation.
Okay.
Where the developer is objecting to
I understand that.
our closing the road. I think it would be unwise of us to comment on this issue publicly as not to compromise what might be our legal position.
Okay.
Mr. Bongiovanni, are you comfortable with that?
The press release was done for the purpose of giving general information of what happened in court. Beyond that, further comment probably wouldn't be helpful by the board.
Can I ask you, was this
Okay.
released to any newspapers? Because I've been looking for it and I can't find it. I only found it on the website.
I think it was only released, Mr. Chinyetsky, when?
It was Friday.
Friday. So, I mean, the press might not even have picked it up yet.
Okay, so
anything
what
else?
does 9B7 have to do with, what is specifically?
Sure. The description, Mr. Chinyetsky, with respect to the change order is?
I'm actually going to ask our engineer to comment on
Okay.
the specifics of the change order.
Mr. Nunziato?
It's primarily three major issues. One or two of them on the south end of the project, we had some residential concerns, buffering and screening, so there was an increase in some landscaping and some regrading, which caused extra fill. Secondly, there was a wetlands permit that was actually required to build the crossing. In constructing that, they needed to have some additional material removed and additional select fill imported to the site. Condition of the DEP's permit was that we put in 3 storm scepters, which was a significant increase. And then the third was the landscaping and some of the berming that Councilman Howell had referred to earlier in the meeting. So those are primarily the large
So that-
ticket items. on
So
the
it had nothing
change
to
order.
do with what was on the
No.
website? Okay, good enough. Thank you very much.
Okay,
I
thank
just
you,
wanted to
Mrs.
clear
Dixon.
that up.
Anyone else who'd like to make comments on the items to be acted on this evening? 5, 6, and 7, 8, and 9. Mr. Pritchard, come on up, sir.
Yeah, we're coming up as the Environmental Commission because of Mr. Walsh's comment that he would like to talk to some of the Environmental Commission people while we're available. I just
Thank you,
wanted to
Mr.
make us
Pritchard.
available. Okay.
Sure, and we appreciate your comments, and but what we're taking hearing on now are just, that's okay, are just the add-on items, which include Articles 9B 6, 7, 8, and 9,
Right.
which we're going to take action on tonight.
Right. So we wanted to talk to NB6.
6 being the Smart Growth Planning Assistance Grant Program. Go right ahead.
Right. And the reason I wanted to talk to that tonight was because since we are going for, in front of you should be a proposal that we have for an environmental inventory report. And the reason I want to talk to you guys about it tonight is because we are going for a grant, and that money, we have to be aggressive as far as getting our ducks in a row to have us ready for when that money becomes ready, so that we can just pounce on it and get that money for the report that ANJAC hopefully will match us, and ANJAC being the Association of New Jersey Environmental Commissions. So I wanted to make us available, and I wanted to talk to it. The proposal should be in front of you, and it's pretty well written as far as what it stands up for and what it needs. What we're hoping for is that the environmental resource inventory takes a lot of loose plans that we have in the town that are basically, some of them just being interpretations or recommendations, putting them in an index and be a description of the features of that, so that we could have a good coherent tool for when the Environmental Commission and other planning board and engineers look at plan reviews, so that we have an inventory of the natural resources that we have in the town, as well as open space and recreational needs as well. And we wanted to be able to just say that we're here and we're available. We know we're moving quickly on this, but like we said, we have some time constraints.
Mr. Walsh, you had a comment? Go right ahead, sir.
I read you requested $35,000 from us, is that correct?
What we did was we're actually submitting for a grant, and we also put in for the money for the plan if we didn't get the grant for 35.
So you don't need the $35,000 if you get the grant?
That's
Is that
right.
what you're asking for in the grant, $35,000?
The project, we do have it on the back of the project report that the total project cost is estimated to cost $30,000, and for what we're getting, we thought that was a pretty good price for that. The ANJAC grant would be a $15,000 matching grant for the township's $15,000. But we did ask for the entire fund if we didn't get the grant.
So he's
Humbly.
Humbly asking for 15.
All right, do we have any questions for either Mr. Pritchard or other members of the environmental team while they're here?
I would like to know, as a layman who doesn't understand that much about the environment, how will this benefit the citizens of Howell to have this?
Okay, well, a lot of the tools and the reasons that we could use this, I have some. I wasn't too prepared to speak tonight, so. Because the plan itself will highlight a lot of environment. This is just being the ERI portion of the project, would highlight a lot of different aspects of the environment. One being the geography and topography of the areas of the township, and without me getting into the specifics underneath them, the geology of the area, the hydrology of the area, the soils, the vegetation charts for the town, the wildlife and inventory of them and their habitats, the wetlands for the town and the land use in the town, as well as air modeling for the town, as well as historical and cultural features for the town, existing planned infrastructures, noise, and regional relationships. It also lists some contaminated sites and critical environmental areas, all in one cohesive document that township people can get their hands on and take a look. So when the Environmental Commission is reviewing a plan right now, when we're looking at stuff, we're going through some information we have is fairly decent, maybe on soils for the town, for the farmers. But wetlands maps that we look at in the back are dated and in really terrible state. The habitat and critical area stuff has come up a lot recently, and it's kind of mishmashed, the information that we have. The previous ERIs that we have had were dated in the 70s. So a lot of the information is really old. And I think which is outlined in the proposal very well is the purpose and need for this town. What we need really good is good, coherent plans because of the town's desirability for growth and stuff. So when people come before the Environmental Commission and say, well, this isn't an environmentally sensitive piece of property, we have a good document to say, well, we do believe it is, or vice versa. When they say, when some people say that this is an incredibly important piece of environmental, we could say, well, we have, less need of that, more of that. It's a, I don't know if anybody else wants to speak.
Jeff,
Sorry.
also, Deputy Mayor, when you have the ERI on file or the open space plan, it also allows you to have a little bit more credibility and power in applying for other grants.
Yes.
For example, the open space recreation plan will conform to Green Acres state guidelines so that it'll be used in applying for possibly future planning incentive grants. So it's very important to have those documents and a plan on file for the commission in order to apply for future grant money.
Mayor, one quick comment. Helene knows, I just want to mimic what she's saying. Oftentimes in the past, there were things that we have not had in place or implemented, and which inhibits us from applying for a grant or from being eligible for the grant overall, because we haven't had things, and a lot of times you must have those things in place far before you apply for that. So it's a tool that could be utilized for the town in a very positive manner.
All right, any other questions or comments, Mr. Chernetsky?
Mayor, if I could just make two comments. One is the open space plan and recreation plan. We talked about that being a priority for us in the coming year to help us prioritize our investments in recreation. So the plan will include that. And to the inventory, the environmental inventory, just speaking to the ordinance you just introduced, if the planning board is going to consider allowing someone to undertake a clustering option because there's an opportunity to save some farmland, they'll know that up ahead because they have this document, and our staff will have the documents to say, gee, these are considered the best soils in New Jersey for farming. Let's give every incentive to preserve that portion.
Okay. Anything else? All right. We appreciate your putting your time into it, and we have the report, and we'll take action accordingly.
Very good report.
All right. Thanks, everybody. All right. Is there anyone else who'd like to be heard on any of the add-on items, 5, 6, 7, or 8, 9 as well?
I would just like to make further comments.
Please come right up. If you just introduce yourself for the public.
Sure. Bobby Sue Bowers, Environmental Commission. The Environmental Commission reviews every site plan that comes before the Planning Board and the Zoning Board. And the ERI is basically our tool for doing that accurately and consistently. And right now what we're dealing with is scattered and incomplete information. And we've been discussing obtaining a new ERI for many years now. I've been on the commission for almost 6 years, and I think every year I've been on, we've discussed it. And this year we finally decided to jump on this ANJAC grant, which I think is a great deal for the town, and it will finally give us an up-to-date tool that we can then add on to from there. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms.
Thank
Powers.
you.
All right. Anyone else who'd like to be heard?
Yeah, Don Smith from the Environmental Commission. I just got to give a special thanks to Helene Schlegel for working with the commission on this, and for Bobby Sue, who just spoke, for actually coming up with the contact people at ANJAC to set this whole thing in motion. And I do ask for the governing body's support on 9B6. Let's take advantage of grants whenever we can get them. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Anyone else who'd like to make any comments on these add-on items? All right, seeing no one, we'll close the public's portion on this. I would ask a member of the council to please make a motion, and we'll have a second. We can act on these in tandem unless anyone wants a separate vote.
Mr. Mayor, I'll move that we adopt resolutions 9B5 through 9B9. Do you need me to read them one by one?
No, I think we're okay.
So moved, Mayor.
We have a motion and a second on 9B5 to 9B9 as read previous. Any comments? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mrs. Dalton?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mrs. Showmaker?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mayor DeBella?
Yes. Okay, well, we've actually
Number 10.
moved on everything with the exception of 10, discussion. Anything for discussion tonight, Mr. Chinyetsky?
No, sir.
All right. Anything under information?
No, sir.
Okay.
And my staff saying, cheering me on.
Mayor,
Yes.
I'm probably stepping out of line. Under discussion, something that I would like to open up for discussion, not now to be put onto the agenda for discussion, and I think this is where we have to make a motion, is it's funny that Ms. Dalton is on that end and I'm on this end, because sometimes things that I have rolling around in my head and have brought up over the past years, she now is trying to also bring up, so she may have thought of this also. When it comes to, I know Jeffrey is anticipating retiring or moving on, and we are anticipating bringing on someone new. And over the course of the years, I'm sure I've given him agina in that I have asked, when we do bill, and Mr., I can't think of his name, Tintilla he will understand my comment on this. I'd like to see if we can institute some type of a policy on our billing system where every case comes with a number, and we can bill by that case number. I know Jeffrey says in the past we haven't had the capabilities, or the programs have not allowed us to utilize that, whereas you can go right into the computer, push a button, like a specific account number or a case number, and it tells you all the monies that have been allocated to that case without having to spend hours of trying to track that. I just would like to have that, if the council would agree, at some point try to have a discussion about that, what we can do to change or to update or to just if we have an open dialogue on the financial aspects of how we are taking toll of where our dollars are going, like by case, by billing services, just very finite way.
All right, so it sounds like, Ms. Shoemaker, if I could summarize, you're making a motion for the council to add to an agenda the idea of discussing adding some specifics from a tracking perspective around bills, so that we can more...
Financing in general, yes.
Financing in general. All right, we have a motion to have the council discuss this at an appropriate time. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. This would be to add this on for discussion. Any comments? All right, Mr. Janetzky, you'll work on a schedule when we can get this onto the docket?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Dalton?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mrs. Shoemaker?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mayor DeBella?
Yes. All right, we're now going to go to the public participation portion of the meeting. Just want to remind everyone, earlier this evening, as some of you have been here, are aware the council adopted a policy with respect to a variety of ways in which we're handling the meeting to try and make the sessions more productive and efficient. And one of the things that we adopted this evening was the council wants to have some parameters around the amount of time that we spend for public participation. And specifically, we're going to have each individual be afforded 5 minutes. If for some reason they need to go beyond that, the council will poll itself and determine whether or not we want to go on beyond that. Mr. Chernietsky will be the official timekeeper, and when we get to 4 minutes, we'll sort of give you the warning that we would like you to wrap it up in the next minute. This way, we can make certain we afford everyone enough time to be heard. So we're all going to be diligent in trying to be mindful of that. So I want to just mention that to everyone, and that tonight is the first night that we will attempt to adhere to those provisions. We have 6 people who've signed up to be heard this evening. The first is Connie Schmidt-Kerman. Did I get that right? Welcome, Mrs. Kerman. Come on up. If you don't mind, if you'd introduce yourself, name and address for the record, and tell us what it is you'd like to speak about.
Sure. My name's Connie Schmidt-Kerman. I live 459 Adelphia Road. On February 2nd, a judge overturned the decision of our Board of Adjustment and granted a variance for a dog facility on Oak Glen Road. This decision is disturbing not only because it's a business on an undersized lot in an ARE 6 zoned area, not only because it was granted on mapped wetlands, not only because it's not a permitted use within an ARE zone, and not only because it excused the applicants from obtaining proper licenses and inspections for opening and operating a kennel, but it's disturbing because it sets precedents in this area. These applicants operated on this property for 2 years and were required 2 stop work orders issued by Judge Kaplan before they applied for their variance. They have accrued in excess of $40,000 in construction fines for building without permits. So in essence, what this judge has said, it's okay to build in Howell Township without permits and then claim no site renovations on your variance applications because you already did it. It's okay to operate a business at a residence, and when you get caught, then are ordered to, you can apply for the variance with your outstanding fines. It's okay not to comply with our town rules and codes. He's saying it's okay not to comply with our town rules and codes. It's okay not to work with town officials for appropriate permits and licenses. It's okay to ignore wetlands and designated areas and fill and build. It's okay to run a dog facility and not follow typical kenneling requirements such as Board of Health approvals, appropriate septic facilities, and required inspections. It's okay to operate a business in a residential area without a site plan detailing your parking, signage, hours of operation, and lighting considerations. This is not just a problem on Oak Glen Road. There are several others in the pipeline, as you heard earlier. I implore you to appeal this judge's decision, this arbitrary decision. Put an end to building kennels in residential areas and say, no, it's not okay to do what you want and apply for and receive a variance for when you were caught. Please tell that judge that he does not know better than our elected and appointed officials on how zones should be in our township. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Kerman. Mr. Bongiovanni, you have a
Okay. Well, I
comment?
wouldn't want to comment on the case because I don't know enough about the case, but Mr. Tropoli wrote me a letter about it today. But I think only the zoning board would really be the proper body that could make a decision to appeal that one and has standing. So I think that's the main issue, and they can make the decision themselves without any guidance or, for that matter, interference by the town council.
I think, Ms. Kerman, if we may, it might be advisable. Your comments were very well stated. I can't imagine anyone would disagree with you. You might want to see if you could attend the next zoning board of adjustment meeting, if you haven't already done so. They meet, I believe, the first and third Monday, second and fourth Monday, and you might want to read those comments into the record because, as the council points out, it's in their jurisdiction to be the ones to appeal that. Okay? Thank you for your comments. Commander Ben Novick of the VFW, I believe Mr. Novick has left, so we're going to move on. Next is Judy Schmidt. Ms. Schmidt? Well, you addressed it. Okay. Thank you. Thanks for, of course, thanks for coming out tonight. Appreciate it. Mrs. Dixell, come on up. You're up next.
Yeah.
Mayor, March 12th is the next zoning board meeting.
It's this coming Monday night, it's the next zoning board meeting.
Okay. Mrs. Dixell, good evening again. How can
Good
I help
evening,
you?
Barbara Dixell, The Villages. Mayor, just as a quick note, this may also be the same judge that gave the killer pit bull dogs in The Villages back to the owners. May I also say, next time you appoint judges, they got to do a better job than appointing this one.
I think we got a pretty good judge.
Yeah, this isn't our judge.
It's not your judge?
It's not our judge.
Oh, well.
We do have an excellent judge.
Well,
But this wasn't his
this
decision.
particular, we think this may be the one that gave the pit bull, the one that killed the dog and attacked another dog, whatever, back to the owner. Okay, thank you very much. With reference to 8A1, 0-07-4, amend land use development application requirements, environmental impact report, I said I would bring it up again. Is it possible for this governing body to do something with the ordinance requiring environmental impact reports time after time after time, every single meeting, every single application, every single board? All these applicants come to these boards and they request waivers and variances from providing an environmental impact statement. They don't want to obey the wetlands, they don't want to obey the buffers, they don't want to do anything, they want to reduce everything, and they want it for free. And it's all at our detriment. So if it's at all possible, can anybody do anything to put teeth in our ordinances that any of these applicants coming to these boards really can't get away with not providing an environmental impact statement? Okay, that being said, and if it gets addressed, could it get addressed fairly soon? Because, again, every application I read, and I got one coming up Tuesday that may be asking for some more of the same stuff. You hear it all the time. We have ordinances, and they got to obey them. Put their feet to the fire, and if they don't want it, don't come to Howell. Okay, with reference to the Matita-Conk watershed, I'm on the liaison to the Matita-Conk watershed. I did leave a message for Councilman Howell. I had spoken to Mrs. Schlegel, and she said to leave a message for the council, and she said I can bring this up tonight. There's going to be there's a proposed development in Jackson for several thousand houses. And there's a lot of interest in this because it's going to impact the Matita-Conk River rather severely. And from the Muddy Ford Brook to Candlewood and Howell, it's part of the Matita-Conk watershed. But Ramtown water, potable water, is supplied by the Matita-Conk, and it may have an impact on the Ramtown. So if this planning board meeting is going to be April 6th, I believe, in Jackson. If anybody can authorize any of your professionals or anyone to go or represent Howell or not, or at least send them a copy of the Howell Township ordinance that I do have a copy of, supporting the Matita-Conk or something whatever, I don't, it just might be of your interest to, to go, or just send a copy of, or just have somebody attend, just so that we can know that we're there and we do care, and some of our potable water comes from the Matita and if they put up 2,300 houses or whatever, it may have an impact on it. I mean, that was in the newspaper, like I said, I did call Helene on it. It was news to me that convenience stores and gas stations are not permitted in HD1. That was very significant news, because I'll bring it up on Tuesday night.
Mayor,
Again,
as directed, it's been 4 minutes.
Okay. So
okay,
1 minute,
fine.
Mrs. Dixon,
Change of
please.
workshops. Again, Mrs. Dalton, I'm going to ask you again, since you said that when you were running for office, can somebody on this council, or this governing body, make the request to change the public time on workshop meetings to before the council votes on these agendas?
We did, Mrs. Dixon. In fact, to Mrs. Dalton's credit, we did that tonight. So the items that were going to be acted on this evening, we actually, as you recall, 9A 5 to 9.
Yeah, but I mean the whole consent agenda.
But we weren't acting on any other item tonight. We only
Okay.
took official action on certain articles, and when we took action on those articles, we did open it up to the public to
Okay. But
Mrs.
when
Dalton's
you do
benefit.
when you do the agendas and print them, can you also actually move the print to the front? Except that they're not on the back page.
Okay, all right, great.
That's about, and
Hold
like
on.
I said, is somebody...
I missed that. They have to go in order.
Mrs. Dalton, we'll recognize you first.
Mr. Mayor, actually, Mrs. Dixell, I thought about that this evening and was going to bring that up, is that I wonder if there's any reason why we can't, even if it's repetitive, at least list under item number 7 what the consent agenda action items will be.
Yeah, the only thing, what's that? They're asterisked. My experience has been, and we got to defer to Ms. Woolman on this, is that there are times when literally we need to take action, and it could have happened Friday, or it could have happened today, so they don't always know far enough in advance when we need to take action. So what I might recommend to the clerk's office is when we know far enough in advance, when you publish the agenda, if we could put that up in the front, to Mrs. Dalton's observation, we should do it. And in the event we can't, because it's on some add-on or some late-breaking action, we will certainly, at the front end of the meeting, let the public know that there are items we're adding on, and that we're going to have a special hearing at the workshop meeting on those particular items. Okay? Thanks, Mrs.
All right,
Dixell.
and regarding these ordinances
Dixell?
that you will not hear them on March 20th?
I don't know that we've scheduled the date as of yet.
They'll be here for introduction on the 20th.
All right, Mrs. Dixell,
Okay,
thank you.
thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Mr. Magid, come on up, sir. Welcome.
Suggest you hold the clock until these people see it. Your call.
I'll take it.
No, they have to
Hand
each
them
see
to-
it.
hand them to Helene, please.
Mrs. Schlegel will pass them out for us.
No, I want each person to look at it before I say anything, or nothing will make any sense. They go, just the two together.
Okay, got it.
Okay, look at it, take a good look.
All right, why don't you sit, Mr. Magid? We'll study him up, and we'll come back to you in a minute.
That was there.
You have 2 minutes left, Mr. Maggot.
He's only kidding.
Go to Rascals on Route 35, they'll pay you for your humor.
All right, are you ready, Mrs. Showmaker?
This is
Okay.
serious stuff here.
I know.
Then there's no time for fun.
All right, Mr. Magid, why don't you, just for the record, if you'd please introduce yourself.
Everyone.
We've all seen him.
This is Abe Magid, 89, Mariners Cove. The photographs you've just looked at, I want you to know, if you look at them, that what you see are trees in the water. That water reaches up almost to the sidewalk of Mariners Cove. Those photographs were taken after a rain on Thursday night. One night. I took those photographs in the morning, around 10 o'clock or so.
Mr. Magid, if you wouldn't mind, we just got to, you could just back off the microphone a
Right.
little bit.
Okay.
Thank you.
You'll notice, and by the way, in the past it's been like 60 to 80 feet. That was 200 feet. The land was covered almost to Mariners Cove. One night. I sent you, Mr. Mayor, a letter, and to the manager, Zanicki, on November the 13th, where I pointed out, and I told you where those fallen trees are. And nothing was done for the better part of 4 months, certainly for 3 months. The condition is getting absolutely critical. I've told you, you had to take an action. I understand the action you've taken so far has not yet been submitted for the permit for the DEP, but maybe you're getting close to it. I found that out the other day. Let me just say this. I have here papers which shows a tornado, which nature caused devastation. The people couldn't do anything about it. Now we have nature over there, and you could have done a lot about it. And Mr. Mayor, I've heard you tell me time and again how much you care. I've also heard you say procedures, this and that. One night, if it were 2 days, that would be in the street. There's no excuse now. When you're filing for the permit, instead of you're filing for 5 miles, put in a codicil that you want the approval at least around Mariners Cove, and that you take an action immediately. Because what will be your position if it rained in addition to Thursday night, Friday and Saturday? Let me tell you, you have what they call the mother of all floods, because the condition has gotten far worse. A year ago in October, it took a year and a half ago, it took 8 days of rain, starting from November. And the manager was there himself, the beginning of February, I believe. He says, a lot of water. This is deplorable now, and your action has to be immediate, or you will have consequences beyond what you can imagine, because we're not just talking about flooded houses. We're talking about the trauma effect on those small children. This is no time for this council, and again, this is not like the tornado where they couldn't do anything about it. You can do everything about it, and I've heard all kinds of comments. You have to go to 60, 70 other things in order. You also have to concern yourself with procedures, protocol. Nature's caught up to you. You have to send in this permit to the DEP immediately. And when it's sent in with the stipulation that before they decide, could take them ages for 5 miles down to West Farms Road. You're only interested in the approval at this point on that segment of Mariners Cove, and you get in there and get those trees out, because it's on your head now. If it rains a second day or a third day, can you imagine what those photographs would have been like? You'd have Ron Sandersack out there, and you'd have floods. And last time, where they put sandbags only on a couple of houses, you'd have sandbags everywhere, and that might not even help. 200, if you study those photographs, now I want them on the record, go. 200 feet is what you're having, almost up to the sidewalk. I don't ever want to hear from you, Mr. Mayor, again, these words, I care, unless you do. There's a comment I want to make, and it goes like this. Action speaks louder than words. But words are lousy when there's no action. Keep the minute.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Magid. Mr. Tintillo, you're up, sir. Mr. Tintillo?
Deodorant ain't cutting it.
Good evening, Mr. Tintillo. If you just kindly introduce yourself.
Vinny
for the record,
Tintillo,
please.
Casino Drive. Just two things, Joe. I asked Mr. Bongiovanni before, on the township website, land use plan element, page 24. It's just confusing. I could be wrong, but it says ARE building coverage of 3%. You can build on principal use of overall lot coverage. I don't know how the equation works, but the way I figure it out, if you got 12, 15 acres, that's like putting a house on a half an acre. I don't get it.
Are you talking about the ARE 6 standards or the ARE, because there were different standards
It's
for
ARE 6.
ARE 6.
It's, I don't know, if somebody look it up, Tom, look it up, maybe I'm reading it wrong, I don't know. And the other thing is, and I'll be out of here, the map, I talked to, I gotta do it to you, Bill. I talked to Mr. Nunziata last week about this map. We had a court order after we sued the town, which I didn't like doing, but we won, and he had a court order to change these maps back to 2 acres. And I kind of scolded Bill last week. It was still 6 acres. I haven't gone over there to look at it. But has it been changed, Bill? I want to know when they're going to be changed. Because last time I was here, I said about a woman down the street. Now it's about me. I got a piece of property I tried to sell, and the same thing happened. They told me it's 6 acres owned. They're not going to buy the 3 acres. When is this map going to be changed? That's all I got to say. Thank you.
All right, on that particular point, Mr. Chernetsky, this has been an ongoing issue with this map accuracy. What's the situation?
Well, Mayor, the current map is based on the input we've received from the from a legal opinion, and so that's all we have to go on. What I've asked in response to Mr. Tantillo's request last week, and it was a sidebar conversation, was for an analysis of that ruling, a fresh analysis of that ruling. Again, when we're working our way down the map in terms of creating new zones, and but I hope to have a report to you shortly, and there might be some closed session items that we need to discuss as well regarding this. But the legal opinion I have now from the former township attorney is that the map is as it is.
Mr. Walsh, go right ahead. It makes sense.
The map is as it is. I mean, I've read the court ruling also. Wasn't it turned back over to 2 acre zoning? I mean, I need a little help here.
So my problem is that I was the attorney for the applicant, so I really should advise the council. I did suggest at a recent conversation that maybe this could be run by Ms. Bambachi, who is our COA attorney, who certainly knows something about land use. And I thought maybe she could be copied, sent a copy of the judgment.
Hold on one second. I think Mr. Walsh, you still have the floor.
Mr. Ziata, we've spoken about this in the last 6 to 9 months. Anything you can do to help clarify this?
Well, unfortunately, when we did ask the previous township attorney for his interpretation of the court ruling, this is the result as we now see it. We had a court order.
All right, Mrs. Showmaker, does that answer your question?
It doesn't answer my question. It does not answer my question. No, it doesn't. I mean, you know, truthfully, what I would like to see stop some of the time in this town is we keep on beating a dead horse over and over and over again. What is the definitive answer? We need to find it. We need to put it on the map for everybody can see. Somebody doesn't need to go sell their land and find out that it's not zoned the way they thought it was. And it doesn't need to be conflicting maps. So I'm not blaming anybody, but we need to have, and the citizens of Howell deserve, definitive answers. I'm going to try to help on this one. I mean, somebody's got to come up with an answer other than I spoke to somebody, or it is what it is, really doesn't cut it.
Deputy Mayor, it's a legal matter, and we're directed by our legal advice in terms of taking action, interpreting a court ruling. If there's different advice, then we'll implement that, and we're in the process of sorting that out.
Mrs. Showmaker, you had a comment?
I have to tell you, Board, I'm not satisfied with any of your comments. Mr. Nunziata will know that I have tried to get to the bottom of this matter since the court order. And what really, really, really rubs my skin the wrong way is that we pay professionals for their opinion. And I mean no disrespect to one individual, but I have sat here for all these years, and you're right. I hope you sit here as long as I sit here, because you're going to keep asking for definitive answers over and over. And I have to tell you something, you're not going to get it. Mr. Nunziata will tell you that I have read the court order. I am not an attorney, but I will tell you this, that we go from attorney to attorney until one interprets it this way and one interprets that way, and because no one can agree on it, we don't get a clear interpretation. And I mean no disrespect to you, Mr. Shinsky, and it has nothing to do with you, and I really don't want to discuss it with you because you were his attorney.
I'm not going to discuss that
Right.
at all.
But I will tell you that I have discussed this in detail with Mr. Nunziata, and he knows. I went round and round with Mr. Gannon because he seemed to be at the bottom of this, where the map was the map. And I will tell you that I did ask for a letter or somebody to reach out to Mr. The planning board attorney, and I get so upset over this, Mr. Cachero. I spoke to Mr. Cachero in length about this, and he didn't understand where the confusion was because he thought it was very plain in what the court order stated. Unless I listened with a deaf ear to what he said to us during the planning board, and which concerns me because we're not in compliance. Technically, according to the judge's order and what was explained to us from the planning board, we are really not in compliance with what the judge said according to our map. So my point is we really need to find an attorney that we can take his interpretation to face value and set forth something in motion, one way or the other.
May I speak for other attorneys? No, I'm not speaking on this issue.
Go right ahead.
Or speaking in general in terms of responses that will get from this attorney. For example, I cannot speak on this issue because I was the attorney for the applicant. But normally, a question like this on a judgment or something like that, I will give you my opinion, and I will be 100% firm in what I say, and I will stand by that forever. All right, unless somebody overturns my opinion by a court rule or something like that, and it's very clear that I'm wrong. So you don't have to worry about that. When I give you an answer, it'll be a positive answer. I only wish I could help out in this particular case.
I have a couple of quick comments I want to make, and this isn't directed at any of our current professionals, but I'm totally agitated and beyond fed up that we can't get an answer. I'd have to tell you, I'm a health benefits consultant for a living. I didn't study law, but my 7-year-old could read this and see exactly what the judge said. I mean, it reads very simple. And so I just cannot understand how we haven't challenged somebody, done something, but that movie, I'm as mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore? I'm really as mad as hell that this continues to go on. And I don't want to hire another lawyer. I want to go to Ron Cachero. He's the planning board attorney. He read the case. We need someone to put in writing, in 2 paragraphs or less, here's what you need to do, period. We need it with someone that's willing to put their neck on the line and say, this is what I think. Because it's an embarrassment that the damn maps of our town aren't updated. And I just can't understand how we have not been able to say what the judge said it can no longer be 6, still says 6. That's all I see. And I don't know what we have to do, but my tolerance and my patience on getting it resolved is up. So I don't know what we can do. Can we get Mr. Cachero on the telephone? He's very familiar with it. He is a recognized land use expert. And Mrs. Dalton, you have a comment?
Mr. Mayor, can we have...
Hold on one second, Mr. Dintillo.
It sounds to me like we already know what the judge ordered. Why aren't we changing the map to conform to what the judge ordered?
Mayor, because my engineer is not authorized to make a change contrary to what the town attorney tells him.
No question.
And he's not allowed to do that.
And that's why this isn't your guys' issue.
No.
This isn't the township
you.
manager, it's not the township engineer. It absolutely isn't. And this is a function of several people have looked at this from a legal perspective and have said, I don't know, don't make a change. I don't understand.
All right.
Mayor.
Mayor, if, just to be clear, the comment was raised outside of a council meeting, and we're taking action on it.
Of course.
We've identified where the conflicts might be, and Mr. Cuchero may not be able to comment on it either.
that right?
So we've gone through the process of trying to vet out where we can properly direct this for an opinion, and we are working on it. And, the former attorney answered the question, it's been raised again, so I'm looking at it again.
Absolutely. And please, I think I speak for the whole council. This is not an issue with you, the manager, with Mr. Nunziato. There are certain, whether we like it or not, there are certain protocols that have to be followed. So when the attorney gives you advice and says, don't change it, until you're given direction of the contrary, we can't expect you to change it. So I guess from a next steps perspective, it sounds like we're going to get another attorney, maybe you said Ms. Bombachi or somebody to look at
Correct.
this? Ms. Dalton, do you have a comment?
I'm just, by not changing it, we are opening ourselves up to
Another
contempt of
lawsuit.
court to Mr. Tantillo through an attorney other than Mr. Bongiovanni this time. Coming at, I mean, this to me looks like we are restricting somebody's property rights, and we are exposing the citizens of this town for no good reason.
Hence the degree of our collective anger and frustration.
Mr. Mayor.
I'll be frank, I expect better. I mean, we pay a lot of money for professionals in this town. And you know what? Put it on paper, put your neck on the line. That's what professionals get paid to do. I mean, this is what I've, for a long time, I've watched Councilwoman Schumacher ask how
4.5
much it
years.
cost for about 3 years now for the lawsuit, and there's no answer. I mean, I'll be frank, I expect better, okay? And, there's nothing the matter with that. In my job, what I do, people expect better than me of being in the gray. I go in the gray with the banking commission, I get fined. Black and white, dot the i's, cross the t's, do your job. Put your neck on the line. A lot of us are professionals. That's what you need to do. I mean, if we want answers, and the people of Howell ask for answers, we got to be able to deliver them to them. I don't want to stay in the grave for 3, 4, 5 years and come back to it. I was there and asked for how much it cost a few years ago. Probably about 3 years ago, I heard her ask that question. Sit in the audience. I mean, as a councilwoman, she deserved that answer, and the citizen deserved that answer. To me, it's not that confusing. We're paid to give answers. We're elected to give answers. If we can't give an answer, say, I can't give you the answer. I mean, then it's over with. But, I mean, we don't need to be going back and forth over stuff like this for years. There's no call for that.
If we had another attorney on this, who would pay for that? The township? We have to pay for another
I'll
attorney?
give you that answer. No.
It would be better if I went to the county. Somebody is giving
Well,
direction to the town.
I think what we talked about here tonight is that the manager and the township attorney are looking into getting another opinion, if you will, around what action we should take. I think we would be remiss if we said we could comment or understand why the attorney who looked on it originally said, don't make a change. We don't know what the rationale behind it is. Maybe there's a good one, we just don't have it. So rather than jump to conclusions, I think what came out of this discussion is that our manager's on top of it, our township attorney's on top of it with them. They're going to look at it. They're going to report back to the council, I would suspect, as quickly as possible. And we're either going to make a change, or we'll better understand why the original recommendation was not to make a change. Who knows? So we're in agreement on that? Okay, thank you, Mr. Tintillo. All right, that's it for public portion. I'm going to close the public portion of the meeting. Just by way of background, the council has a budget meeting on Tuesday, March 13th at 6:30 in these chambers. Our regular meeting is Tuesday, March 20th, executive session beginning at 6:30. Mr. Chunetsky, is there anything else for action tonight?
No, sir.
All right, I'd ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, meeting adjourned.